West Ham Arsenal here on 5 Live. All yours, Connor.
Thanks very much, Chappers. We are underway. Full house at London Stadium. This is the final Premier League match of November. Arsenal, who've only lost 2 league games this season, but it does feel that they are clinging on to remain part of the title race. An Arsenal defeat here, coupled with the Liverpool win against Manchester City tomorrow, and Arsenal could be 12 points off the top of the table by tomorrow night. A huge gulf. However, if they were to win here, Arsenal, if Manchester City were to recapture some form and beat Liverpool tomorrow, well, then the gap would only be 6 points, and we'd all be saying that Arsenal are still very much in the mix. So it feels a pivotal weekend. West Ham, who've only ever had 3 home wins against Arsenal in the Premier League era, but they did get their best win under Julen Lopetegui on Monday when they worked their socks off to beat Newcastle 2-0. And West Ham fans will be hoping that their team can pick up in a similar groove today. West Ham, who covered more distance on the pitch on Monday, not just than they had done in any Premier League game this season, but as any Premier League team had done in any match this season. They really ran and ran and ran. It'll be interesting to see if they can do that. That's a good signal of intent as Wan-Bissaka runs in and challenges Leandro Trossard, and the ball goes out for a throw into Arsenal down below. Full teams in just a moment, but Andy Reid is alongside me. Andy, it's got a big match feel about it. Arsenal, if they win here, I think it'll confirm that they've turned the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely has the feel of a big game, and I think the key to the whole thing is Arsenal are hitting a bit of form at the moment, so they'll want to keep going with that.
Arsenal with that dreadful run, but then they had the league win last weekend and a big win in the Champions League in midweek, and they appear, despite missing several regulars in defence at the moment, they appear to look something back towards their best. So West Ham are unchanged from the 11 that started against Newcastle. Mohamed Kudus still suspended. He serves the last of his 5-game ban. Julen Lopetegui has to watch this one from the stands. He's got a touchline ban. Fabianski in goal, former Arsenal goalkeeper. He plays behind the back four of Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman and Emerson. Jean-Claude Todibo, who was a doubt with an illness in the build-up to this one, but he has made the starting 11. Thomas Souček and Lucas Paqueta in the middle of the midfield. Then there's a 3 of Jared Bowen on the right, Crescencio Somerville on the left, Carlos Soler in the middle. Soler, who starts back-to-back Premier League games for the first time, and Mikel Antonio leads the attack for the home side through the middle. The Arsenal team, 2 changes from their last league game, 1 change from the Champions League match in midweek. David Raya plays in goal behind the back four of Jurriën Timber, William Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. So Gabriel has made it despite injury concerns. 3 in midfield, Odegaard, Jorginho and Declan Rice, who's back in the team in the league against his old team today. The front 3, Saka, Trossard and Kai Havertz, is looking for his first Premier League goal in almost 2 months. Arsenal have possession of the back with Jurriën Timber, and then Odegaard under pressure rolls it all the way back to David Raya. Arsenal will look to play through the press. Gabriel to Calafiori. The Italian gets it back again. Trossard, you could see that intent from West Ham, and they're not allowing Arsenal any space at all. Arsenal do hold on to the ball, but they're trapped back inside their own penalty area.
Yeah, I think the fans here, they want to see the team get after Arsenal. They want to see them on the front foot. They want to see them kind of pressing as high up the pitch as they can. But West Ham will have to be careful as well. You know, you can't go after them full press every single time. You have to set traps. You have to pick the right moments, but to kind of pick the pockets of them Arsenal defenders when they're playing out.
Here comes Bukayo Saka charging down the right wing. First time we've seen him involved today. 4 minutes played at London Stadium. West Ham 0, Arsenal 0. Cheers from the West Ham fans as Saka is stopped, and he's also penalised. It's going to be a free kick to West Ham. There was a tussle to try and hold on to possession. Free kick to West Ham in the left full-back position for them. Bukayo Saka, who scored against Sporting on Tuesday from the penalty spot. He scored against Nottingham Forest in the Premier League last Saturday, and he scored twice against West Ham in the 6-0 game here last season, a match that Arsenal had won in truth by half-time when these sides met here last campaign, and West Ham will not want this game to drift away from them this evening. 0-0 in the early stages here of this 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League. Into extra time in the FA Cup. Leyton Orient against Oldham. Here's Hamish Marshall.
Couple of minutes left to play in this. Leyton Orient thought they had gone in ahead, but it remains 1-1. Omar Bekel's scrambled effort on the line was chopped off. Couple of minutes to play. Leyton Orient 1, Oldham 1.
Thanks very much. Earlier on, hat-trick for Shota, so Brentford beat Leicester by 4-1. Crystal Palace got a late equaliser at home against Newcastle. 1-1 had finished at Selhurst Park. Saka on the prowl for Arsenal, rolls one in ahead of Martin Odegaard, but just rolls it fractionally ahead of him, and it runs through to Lukasz Fabianski, wearing all bright pink, away to our left-hand side. Andy Reid.
It's no surprise to see Saka and Odegaard linking up. You know, you can tell that they really enjoy playing with each other. The combinations, the positional play, the rotations between the two of them, I think, are really important for this Arsenal side. So I think Saka will be happier than anybody that Odegaard has come back into the team.
Arsenal wearing all black. Odegaard with a back heel. And then some good work in a wide position by Julian Timber. Arsenal hold on to it on the edge of the penalty area. It's played crossfield. Calafiori nods it down to Declan Rice. Some boos, very audible boos to Rice from the old West Ham fans who used to adore him, as Calafiori's cross comes off a defender, and that's going to be the first corner of the game. West Ham 0, Arsenal 0, corner to Arsenal.
No room for sentiment on Derby Day, is there?
Very much is a derby, not just a London derby, but I don't think everyone appreciates quite how close Arsenal and West Ham are. There's only 6 miles between the Emirates Stadium and the London Stadium. And then I think after some boos, there's now a very audible clapping of Declan Rice from perhaps more reasoned West Ham fans as he comes across to take that
he did all right
kick.
for them, didn't he?
He absolutely did, and they made a few bob at him too, by the way. £105 million. Here comes the corner from Declan Rice. Right-footed, low trajectory. Arsenal so dangerous at set pieces. This one's headed it away. Saka picks it up midway inside West Ham territory. Played by Jorginho, back out to Declan Rice on the left. And again, there's that mixed reaction. There was definitely some applause for him as he came across to take the corner, but some boos again when he was in possession there. It's going to be one of those nights for Declan Rice. West Ham 0, Arsenal 0. West Ham in their claret and blue, playing from left to right as we look down. Good noise inside London Stadium as the home fans are hoping that their team are settling in under Julian Lopetegui. It has taken time.
I think we've seen from the Newcastle game probably the shoots of what Lopetegui is trying to implement. You know, I think the players are maybe starting to understand a little bit more. It's taken its time, but I definitely think that they're getting there. He's a really, really top class coach, and you know, these things sometimes do take a little bit of time to implement.
You can get results of all of today's FA Cup second round ties and the Scottish third round ties as well on the BBC Sport website. There's an awful lot to get through, but I can tell you that Barnsley against Bristol Rovers, having finished 0-0, has now gone to penalties, and Cambridge 1, Wigan 2. Wigan have won that FA Cup tie after extra time. They are into the draw for the third round. Here in the Premier League at London Stadium, this is 5 Live at BBC Sound. Calafiori's done well to win possession for Arsenal on the edge of the West Ham penalty area. Played back to William Saliba. Now over to the right hand side to Timber. Onto Bukayo Saka, edge of the penalty area. Back to Timber in the box. Chance for him to shoot. Kilman got his body in the way. It ricochets out for another Arsenal corner. Arsenal have started this game well, 0-0.
Yeah, they have started really well, and already you can see the combinations on that right hand side. Timber getting forward, Odegaard drifting out into a wider position to support Saka. The weighted pass from Saka there was brilliant. Really, really well weighted pass into the box. The defender knew that he couldn't touch Timber when he got in there. Arsenal looking ominous in this early stages.
Now Arsenal go through the usual choreography as they do for corners. Everyone knows what they're going to do. It's really interesting how different teams try to combat it here. So the usual routine, all the Arsenal players are huddled far post from where it's going to come in, and rather than sit zonally and wait for them to come in, the West Ham defenders are gone man for man in that wide area. So we know exactly what's going to happen. Saka's going to play it in. They're all going to charge, and the West Ham players are going to have to try and keep the man that they've been designated to mark here.
They'll be trying to block them. That's what they'll be trying to do. They'll be trying to implement blocks and hope that they don't get to that near post area.
Here it comes, charge of the Light Brigade. Saka's delivery comes in low. Flick header, Gabriel, they've done it again. You know what they're going to do, but you can't stop them. He did the same in midweek of the Champions League. Gabriel scores another header from a corner. It is a piece of Arsenal's weaponry that is almost unplayable. Gabriel Gabriel's header. West Ham United 0, Arsenal 1.
Well, straight away, all the Arsenal staff, they go to hug the set-piece coach, they go to congratulate him. It's another one for him. It's a brilliant ball in. There's not a lot of pace on the ball. It's kind of just guided in there. Really accurate, but not a lot of pace on it. Becomes very difficult to defend. Gabriel gets free, having that movement from the back post into the front post like we spoke about, and he won't get an easier header.
So Arsenal lead here at London Stadium. Back to the FA Cup. Leyton Orient Oldham, Hamish Marshall.
And Leyton Orient look as if they've won this in added time, in extra time. A corner from the left, and Dan Agchi, who missed a penalty in extra time, was the man who got it across the line. The full-time whistle has now gone. Leyton Orient have come from a goal down, including a goal from the goalkeeper, to win this tie 2-1.
Thanks very much, Hamish. West Ham already behind. We've only played 10 minutes at London Stadium. The header from the corner from Gabriel. Paul Casetta played for a throw into Arsenal here. And you mentioned it, as we did sort of give it the build-up. We knew what was going to happen there. And you said they'll try and block the runs. What fascinates me, looking at the replay, you're right, loads of Arsenal players are blocked. Nobody blocks Gabriel.
Yeah, it is difficult when you go into that cluster at the back post. It is difficult to stay with your man. There's so many bodies, and all you need is a half yard. And it was difficult to see who was marking Gabriel in the initial phase. But whoever it was, they haven't done the job well, and he ended up with a free header.
Down the other end, West Ham with Bowen tries to clip it into the penalty area. Jorginho wins an important header just inside the box, and Arsenal get it away. I mean, certainly you could question the defending, but the timing of that run, how Gabriel, it's no fluke because he does it so often, how he manages to give the marker the slip and to create that space for himself in what should be such a congested area. That's a real talent in itself.
Yeah, it is. He's really good at it, and he's got that desire to get his head on the ball. I really like the delivery, though. I think the delivery is key to it. As I mentioned, there's not massive amount of pace on it, but really accurate into that near post space.
Yeah, it's not played in very high either, which is a difficult one to pull off, not to be cut out by the first defender. But Saka's delivery perfect, Gabriel's header just as good, and Arsenal leading. They get another corner. We'll go through the whole routine again now. As things stand, Arsenal would move up above Nottingham Forest, to beat Ipswich earlier on today. Forest, who briefly gone surprisingly, Forest are in 6th place. Arsenal up above them in moving ahead of Chelsea now, and in the live table moving ahead of Manchester City and Brighton as well. So the corner's going to be taken by Declan Rice this time from the left-hand side, and the usual routine, Andy, they all huddle at the back post again.
Yeah, you're looking at the zonal men, so I think Kilman's right in the middle of the 6-yard box, and Paquetá is in the front post space. They're really important people in this setup for West Ham. They have to get the head on one of these.
Now they all sprint into the middle. Declan Rice sends it in, close to the goalkeeper. Fabianski sort of flaps at it, but gets it away. Spills back out to Declan Rice on the left-hand side. Arsenal all in black. Rice picks a good pass to Timber, just outside the edge of the penalty area, left-hand side. He tries to weave into space, and he's somehow managed to foul Carlos Soler there. I don't know if it was an outstretched arm that caught him or something like that. Maybe he's trod on his foot, but Soler hit the deck, and referee spotted it. Free kick to West Ham on the edge of their own penalty area. 1-0 Arsenal on 5 Live at BBC Sounds.
I loved Arsenal's performance against Sporting Lisbon in midweek. I thought they were really good, and they look like they've picked up where they left off from that game. You know, some of the play, some of the line-breaking passes, some of the combinations, overloads that they created centrally, and even creating overloads in the wide areas, with Odegaard dropping out into them wide areas, with Timber pushing on, and the positional play of Declan Rice I thought was really good, and you can already see some more of this coming out in this game.
Arsenal fans making a lot of the noise at the moment. It's been a good week so far for Mikel Arteta's team. 3-0 against Forest, 5-1 win in the Champions League in midweek, and now 1-0 up already with the early Gabriel goal here. More live football tomorrow on Premier League Sunday. 5 Live at BBC Sounds. We have 4 commentaries for you across 5 Live Sports Extra, the BBC Sport website, including the big one. Liverpool against Manchester City is a 4 o'clock kickoff tomorrow with correspondent John Murray. West Ham still being penned in deep inside their own half. Crescencio Silva thought he'd want to throw in for his team, but the referee has given it the other way. West Ham fans close to that, up in arms, complaining about it, but throw-in is for Arsenal. Timber, and it's level with the edge of the penalty area that Mikel Arteta's team attack. taking his time over it too, hence the jeers and the whistles from West Ham fans. Picks out Martin Odegaard, immediately tackled by the corner flag. And then as Kilman tries to play his way out of trouble, he's supported by Mikel Antonio, who's back helping out the defence. Heavy touch from Souček though, and West Ham can't get out. It's a throw into Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm wondering now whether that goal is going to disrupt West Ham's game plan. You know, if you think about what they've done against Newcastle and how they set up in the early part of this game to be compact, to make it difficult to break down, it worked really, really well against Newcastle because they weren't behind at any point in the game, so they could stick to the game plan. And when they went ahead, then Newcastle had to come on to them. It's a different story now. They've got a goal behind. How much can they commit forward? How much can they try and get a bit of a foothold in the game without overcommitting and giving Arsenal, with them really, really good players on the counter-attack?
West Ham 0, Arsenal 1. Odegaard crosses from the right-hand side. Header by Todibo, doesn't clear the penalty area, but then it is sent away by Bowen. West Ham with all hands on deck in defence, so there's no one to collect it higher up the field as Wan-Bissaka falls heavily, but it's not a foul. Calafiori for Arsenal with the light pass. Soler applied the pressure. Is Somerville offside? He's through one-on-one with Raya. He scoops it over and in. It's definitely going to go to a VAR review. The flag belatedly rises. Brilliant finish from Somerville. He was away dancing. The bubble machine is already in action, but I don't think this goal is going to count.
Yeah, unfortunately went a little bit too early. It was right in line with where we're sat. We had a really good angle of it, and it looked like he had just strayed, probably a foot or two. I have to say though, it was a lovely, lovely finish. It's a shame for him that it's going to be chalked off, but he definitely went just a little bit too early.
Yeah, he scooped the ball. He got right in underneath it to lob over the goalkeeper. It's a technique that looks fantastic when it comes off. It's very easy to mess that up.
Karol Poborski.
Yes, exactly, Karol Poborski. Yes, Andy Reid showing his age there, remembering that goal from the 90s. 1-0 Arsenal lead. Their lead still intact, but that's been the first reminder from West Ham of what they could do, and that's just G'd up the crowd a little bit here. Let's go for an update to Wembley, where England are playing USA at a women's international friendly this evening, and Rob Schofield's at Wembley.
27th minute, Connor. England 0, USA 0. Emma Hayes' side having the best of it though. Alicia Thompson's forced Mary Earps into a full stretch save, but it's ultimately been a cagey one. Wouldn't expect much more from Savina Wiegman versus Emma Hayes. 83,000 here at Wembley. It's 0-0.
Thanks very much, Rob. You can listen to commentary of that right now over on our sister station 5 Line Sports Extra. West Ham 0, Arsenal 1 here, thanks to Gabriel's 4th goal of the season for Mikel Arteta's team. In the FA Cup, they've gone to penalties in the Accrington against Swindon game. That was 2-2 after extra time. And Barnsley have been beaten by Bristol Rovers on spot kicks in the FA Cup. Bristol Rovers go through into the draw for round 3. So Arsenal have won 6-0 the last time these sides met, getting the early goal here today. A goal from Gabriel, who has now scored 17 Premier League goals since coming to England. What a good signing he's been for Arsenal. Corner from Saka, the header from Gabriel. West Ham have possession of the midfield. Souček tries to prod it forward towards Antonio. No easy way through though. Arsenal look hungry tonight. Odegaard sends it out to Bukayo Saka on the right hand side. Level with the edge of the penalty area that Arsenal attack. He just bobs and weaves and drops his shoulder, tries to play one low across the edge of the penalty area. Bowen is back for West Ham, gets a touch, but he can't regain possession. Calafiori will pick up the loose ball. He's got Declan Rice just ahead of him. This is left-hand side of the midfield as West Ham come forward. Trossard available on the left, rolls it in low to the feet of Martin Odegaard on the edge of the box. Todibo comes out to greet him. Good strength from Jean-Claude Todibo, wins the ball back for West Ham. Tries to head it up towards Antonio, but Arsenal so good at winning it back instantly, and West Ham are struggling to put 2, 3, 4 passes in a row together in this game. Arsenal come again. Declan Rice sprays it over to the right wing, controlled with a bit of ball juggling by Saka. Bit of almost showboating about that, the way he took it down. Timber's got on the overlap outside him, he gives it to the Dutchman. West Ham here been forced to play all 11 players inside their final third, Andy.
Yeah, they are. It's really difficult for them, to get any kind of a grip on this game. Arsenal look really comfortable in possession. We mentioned the overloads that they create in all different areas of the pitch, and West Ham are just dropping into kind of mid to low block at the moment. They're, as I said, really struggling to get their foot on the ball, really struggling to put any passes together, and Arsenal looking really, really comfortable. When they do get a few passes in, and it gives them an opportunity to organise their attack, it becomes very, very difficult to mark. They've got a really, really high width on both of the, on the top line with Saka and Trossard, and you've got Declan Rice taking up really clever positions. You've got Odegaard taking up really clever positions, and Havertz then occupies the centre backs. It becomes really difficult for any team to really get out and get any kind of grip.
Don't forget, you can hear an exclusive interview that Mark Chapman has had with the new Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim on the Football Daily podcast. You can listen on BBC Sounds. You can also watch that interview on the BBC iPlayer. As a cross from the right hand side for Arsenal into the busy penalty areas, met by the head of Wan-Bissaka. West Ham are relieved to hear the whistle for a foul on Souček, and that is a free kick to West Ham just outside their own box. 20 minutes in, 1-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's probably time for kind of calm heads from West Ham. Other than the goal, Arsenal haven't had many chances. They've had quite a bit of possession, and they do look reasonably dangerous, but without having any clear-cut chances. So West Ham, I think, can afford to maybe be a little bit more patient, because they will get opportunities in this game, most likely on the counter-attack.
Antonio tries to barge his way through from the halfway line, but Saliba's able to whip it off him and play it back to David Raya, wearing a sort of lime greeny yellow away to our right hand side. He's long clearance of the Spaniard, falls for Havertz. Groans from West Ham fans because they should have cleared it away there. This is Odegaard attacking the penalty area for Arsenal, gives it to Saka, shoots, and normally he scores from there. That one flashes wide. Big chance for Bukayo Saka to double Arsenal's lead.
Well, a player of his ability and the form that he's in, I fully expected the back of the net to burst there. He's just gone to feed it into that top corner, and he just didn't get quite enough whip on it. But it's another kind of warning sign, I suppose. I never understand, and I know it's probably easier said than done, but the defenders need to get him outside on his right foot. As soon as you let him come inside on his left foot, you're asking for trouble.
Accrington are through to the FA Cup third round. They have beaten Swindon on penalties. Full list of all today's FA Cup and Scottish Cup results on the BBC Sport website. It's here at London Stadium under dark skies overhead. Jorginho plays out for the back for Arsenal. Timber infield to Saliba. Arsenal have looked really, really good, and their away form this season hasn't been great. I was looking back, Arsenal, this is quite incredible, of all Premier League teams this season in away games, they've had the fewest shots on target of all teams in away matches, but they look on it today.
It's an interesting stat. That it is an interesting stat. I do think though it's no coincidence that we're kind of seeing these type of performances and the one against Sporting the other night when they get all the players back. There could be possibly a case for maybe Martinelli over Trossard or Partey over Jorginho as to which is their best 11. But it's not far off being their best 11 out there on the pitch. And when they get all the top players out on that pitch, then I think you look at you see a different animal.
Listeners of BBC Sounds can rewind and play back the goal again. It came in the 10th minute. You won't want to rewind just yet though, because Arsenal have got another corner. Declan Rice to take it from the left hand side as they come forward. Saka took it from the right, the one they scored. But same routine, all the players huddled outside the 6-yard box, near the byline, far side of the pitch. It's played in by Rice. Bit deeper this time, bit too deep actually. Souček got an unnecessary touch of the back post. He didn't want to take any chances, and out it goes for a corner on the other side, and Saka presumably will take this one.
Yeah, so sometimes they do look for that back post area as well. Sometimes they start a little bit further and they don't make the run all the way across the front. They look to kind of cover that back post area, which is what they've done there. Miguel Antonio has a real tough job on his hands tonight. He's the one who has to mark Gabriel, and it's becoming really difficult. I was just looking at him there was a lot of grabbing. He was just trying to block him. He was just trying to make sure that he didn't get anywhere near that ball.
You might have heard a roar from the crowd there. They feel, the West Ham fans, that Arsenal are taking too long over this. It's like an American football little huddle, and they're having a chat about what plan they were going to do here. Interestingly, Saka was talking to Gabriel. This time Antonio has rugby tackled him as he tries to get some space. Flick on, header of the front post is saved on the goal line. Arsenal nearly scored from a corner again. West Ham hung on there by the skin of their teeth. It was a header of the front post and there were too many bodies in the way. Here comes Jorginho for Arsenal, just outside the box, gives it short to Kai Havertz. Back into Jorginho again, back to the German again. Well, we mentioned the build-up to the goal, how Gabriel gave defenders the slip. Antonio was making sure that he couldn't do so there. He had his arms wrapped around him in a bear hug, really. And that's something they've got to be careful about. You don't want to give away a penalty.
Yeah, you do need to be careful of that. I think if it's kind of persistent and it goes on for a long period of time, I think that's what the referee and that's what the VAR are looking for. So, it's a real fine balance between, you want to stop your man getting across, you want to stop him heading it, but if you hold on for too long, you're going to give away a penalty because they're not even looking at the ball. They're kind of almost facing away from the ball and blocking the Arsenal players.
Yeah, Antonio will say he was standing his ground, and he's probably got the strength to stand that ground more than most. Here come Arsenal again, leading by a goal to nil on 5 Live. Cross from the left-hand side from Trossard is blocked by Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Bissaka, who scored his first goal for West Ham on Monday in the win at Newcastle. But this is a difficulty for Julian Lopetegui's team here. They win the ball in defence, they can't hold on to it. They tried to clear, and Arsenal immediately win it back every time. Here is Declan Rice, midway inside West Ham territory. Arsenal playing right to left as we look down. Back to Jorginho in the centre circle. Jorginho, who started against Forest last weekend in the Premier League. It means this is now the first time that he started back-to-back league matches in over 6 months. Saka gives it to Odegaard. What a return! Must be! Trossard, brilliant goal! That was mesmerising from Arsenal. Leandro Trossard makes it West Ham 0, Arsenal 2. But the tiki-taka build-up here was simply sensational. That is a contender for goal of the month for sure. West Ham 0, Arsenal 2. Brilliant.
That's lovely to watch. Really, really lovely to watch. Havertz starts off the move by dropping from that number 9 position out into the wide area to create an overload in that wide area. He drops out, he gets on the ball, they start to play then, they start to knock it about, the ball goes out to Saka, it then comes back inside, and this is when they all come alive. Really, really good football. Lovely ball by Odegaard into Saka, and he squares it across, and Trossard won't get an easier goal. He taps it in from 3 yards out. But I agree with you, definitely goal of the month contender. Even though it's a tap in, the build-up play was absolutely sensational.
There were so many precision touches there that were just perfect in the build-up. Odegaard, Saka, Mikel Arteta celebrated it on the touchline. He knows that is as good as his team could be. And for Leandro Trossard, 3 goals now in his last 4 games at this stadium. Scored against West Ham in the 6-0 game. The way this has started, the mood Arsenal are in, West Ham have got to be careful this doesn't become a very high scoreline. 2-0 already. We've only played 27 minutes at London Stadium. But Arsenal, this is the Arsenal that started the season. This is the Arsenal we had for much of last season. They are determined, they are confident. There's a swagger about Mikel Arteta's side.
There is a real swagger, and West Ham are chasing shadows at the moment. As we mentioned, the width, Saka and Trossard. You've got almost 2 number 10s in Declan Rice and Odegaard. Really difficult to mark. They're picking up lovely pockets, and then you've got Timber coming in narrow as well to create an extra midfielder, which is it's becoming impossible for West Ham to mark them on.
Great to have Andy Reid watching with us here at London Stadium. This 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League on 5 Live and BBC Sounds as Paqueta's the latest to clear away for West Ham, but all he could do is clear the lines. There's no trying to pick out a teammate. It is clinging on for survival for Julian Lopetegui's side. West Ham, who entered today with some confidence, but it is rapidly being swept away, and all that self-doubt will be creeping back in, both for the players on the pitch and for the West Ham fans looking on from the sides. Down goes Odegaard, challenged by Soler, an increasingly desperate Soler. Free kick to Arsenal, and the possession stats so far: Arsenal 77% possession, and it feels it. It really does feel that dominant.
West Ham are going to have to find a way to manage them wide areas, because the overloads that are being created out there are becoming really, really difficult. They're creating 3v2s in them wide areas, 4v3s, and as soon as West Ham then overcommit to the wide areas, then they come back in central and they hoard them spaces like they did for the goal with Odegaard flicking it through to Saka. It's a real tricky one for them.
So another set piece opportunity for Arsenal. Here's the latest rehearsed move. Rice gives it to Saka on the right. He crosses in, but it's met by the first defender, Lucas Paqueta. Trossard tries to help it back into the penalty area, where there's a leaping Aaron Wan-Bissaka. His ponytail swishing behind him. Trossard tries to shoot from outside the box, and it comes off the shins of Todibo. And despite Antonio's efforts to get onto it, Arsenal regain possession once again with Jorginho inside his own half. Tonight on 5 Live and BBC Sounds from 10 o'clock, we've got live boxing. The former flyweight world champion Sonny Edwards against Olympic gold medalist Galal Yafai. That's in Birmingham. Tomorrow night we've got live play-by-play commentary of Philadelphia Eagles at Baltimore Ravens. That is NFL coverage tomorrow evening on Sports Extra. Here on this Saturday evening at London Stadium, West Ham United 0, Arsenal 2 goals in 27 minutes. Gabriel and Trossard have made this a very good start for Mikel Arteta's team. Saliba trying to hold up Antonio. That's better for Mikel Antonio. Barges his way through, and it was persistently fouled. The referee, even though he got through, the referee had blown the whistle anyway. Free kick to West Ham, which they've taken.
If they are going to get any foothold in the game, West Ham, then that's going to be a really important job for Mikel Antonio. He's going to have to buy his teammates some time. He's going to have to hold that ball up. He's going to have to give them an opportunity to kind of get closer to them, and that might mean him having to wrestle and having to fight, which he can do as good as anybody.
This Somerville from West Ham always giving it away cheaply on the edge of the Arsenal penalty area. A little flick of the outside his boot wasn't accurate enough, and you need to be better than that against this Arsenal defence as Mikel Arteta's team clear it away. The corner from Saka to set up the Gabriel goal, his 9th assist in the Premier League this season, most of any player. And worth putting in context that Saka now, here we are still in November, he's now had as many Premier League assists this season as he did in all of last season. He wasn't exactly not playing well last season. Raya clears for Arsenal, cushioned headed down by Havertz. Great touch from Odegaard. What a difference it's been for Arsenal to have Martin Odegaard back in the team. He's fed it to Saka, sidestepping into the penalty area, through another challenge, down he goes. They want a penalty and they're going to get it. Arsenal with a chance to go 3-0 up with 31 minutes on the clock. Saka unstoppable as he burst into the box. It'll be checked, I'm sure, by the video assistant referee, but it would appear that the foul by Paqueta is going to give Arsenal a penalty kick to make this 3.
Yeah, it's a brilliant bit of play. We've just been talking about Saka and talking about how good he is and how well he manipulates the ball. His acceleration over 2 or 3 yards is incredible, and that's just a lazy leg hung out by Paqueta. It's a real kind of attacking player's tackle in his box. It's just a lazy leg left out there. No doubt that it's a penalty, and and this could be game, set and match already. It's very, very difficult to see any way back into this game if Saka puts this one away.
Arsenal have not had many penalties this season. They've only had one, and they missed it. Trossard's kick was saved against Shakhtar. So this is an opportunity now for Bukayo Saka, who was the player fouled, to strike from 12 yards. He scored a penalty against West Ham the last time these sides met. This is the first penalty that West Ham have given away in the Premier League this season. Lucas Fabianski has got a decent record against spot kicks against his old team here. And is Saka going to give this to Odegaard? He is. So it's got to be Martin Odegaard to take the penalty kick. Last season, Arsenal ran away with this fixture in the first half. There was famous images of West Ham fans leaving in their droves, and I wonder if many will be tempted to head towards the exits already if this goes in. It's Martin Odegaard. It's 3-0 to Arsenal. Fabianski guessed the right side, diving to his left, but the pinpoint precision from Martin Odegaard tucked it right into the corner. This is about as good as I've seen Arsenal play in a long time. Brilliant performance. West Ham 0, Arsenal 3 already.
Yeah, as we mentioned earlier, they were brilliant on Tuesday night against Sporting, and it's a very, very similar performance. You know, they're really untouchable at the moment. West Ham just can't get anywhere near them. A slow walk up, a little bit of a stutter from Odegaard. There wasn't a massive amount of pace on the penalty, but the accuracy when it goes into the side netting, you know it's going to be very, very difficult for the keeper to save it. Really, really good penalty, and what a start to the game from Arsenal. They have been absolutely incredible in this opening 35 minutes.
This is how good they can be. They are baring their teeth, they are flexing their muscles, they're enjoying themselves, Arsenal. I tell you who's not enjoying himself, Julian Lopetegui, who has to watch on from the sidelines. He's sitting in what looks like one of those corporate boxes behind glass. He's looking down, and he must feel very helpless now that he stands there and he's to watch this misfiring performance from his team. And it hasn't really felt like West Ham have done anything particularly wrong. It's just Arsenal, when they're in this mood, they'll beat anyone, and they're in again. Havertz in around Kilman. It is 10 minutes of the first half remaining. West Ham 0, Arsenal 4. It's happening again, just as it did in the 6-0 game last season, when Arsenal were 4-0 up by half-time. They're 4-0 up here, and we've 10 minutes to half-time.
Wow. What can we say about this? It's another brilliant goal. It's a turnover of possession in the middle area of the pitch. Trossard gets onto the ball, and he waits a beautiful pass over Kilman's head. Kilman gets his body shape wrong, doesn't know whether to stretch for it or take another couple of steps to try and head it. He does neither. He completely misses it. And Havertz had all the time in the world for a 1v1 against Fabianski, and he just slots into the bottom corner. He took it really, really well.
Kai Havertz, a first Premier League goal since October the 5th. It's his 5th in the league for the season. He's 9th in all competitions. That'll do his confidence the world of good. It is absolutely sending West Ham to rock bottom. And looking around us, there are quite literally thousands of West Ham fans making their way towards the exits. It was one of the signposts of the back end of the David Moyes reign, when so many West Ham fans left at half-time in the game against Arsenal. And here they are, new coach Julian Lopetegui, having got his best win in the job on Monday, winning 2-0 at Newcastle. But that's going to count for nothing here, as the West Ham fans watching their team play at home and can't believe they're 4-0 down in the first half again.
Well, there must have been a certain degree of optimism turning up here tonight, after the game against Newcastle. A really, really good performance. Maybe not an expectancy to win the game, but they could potentially, have maybe made more of a game, and the fans are not happy with what they're seeing, and rightly so as well. It's a lonely place to be out there, when you're 4-0 down. It's not even half time.
In the Gallagher English Premiership, Bath off to a good start. They lead Exeter by 7 points to 0 after an early try there. Trossard clears away inside his own penalty area for Arsenal, and we go back to Wembley, England against USA in that women's international friendly this evening. Here's Rob Schofield.
0-0 at half-time. Emma Hayes, Olympic champions, have edged it. Lindsay Horan, Alicia Thompson, dangerous. England, like they did against Germany here last month, look stretched on transition, but unlike that day, they haven't conceded. Patient in possession, Serena Wiegmann is clearly experimenting with shape, but they haven't found that final pass and haven't had a shot on goal. 83,000 here at Wembley. We'll expect more in the second half. It's goalless.
And a goal back for West Ham. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who got his first goal for the club on Monday, has scored in back-to-back games. Really good finish, beating David Raya down low at his near post. West Ham, who've barely threatened in the match so far, but a good pass played into the penalty area by Soler to pick out the arriving right back Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It is an awful long way back before we'll say West Ham are going to make this competitive, but it could be a first step. It's West Ham 1, Arsenal 4. And here they come again, into the edge of the penalty area. Paqueta tries to shoot, and it's blocked by the legs of Gabriel. Suddenly, West Ham have woken up. They're going to get a free kick here on the edge of the box. Is it too little too late, though?
I think it is, but this is why we love football, isn't it? Absolutely incredible. I think we're seeing a few West Ham fans are just making their way back in. They just maybe thinking, there might be something in this for us yet.
It's always the dread, isn't it? You leave early, you hear the big roar when you're only still on the staircase, and you think, let's turn around and go back in. 4-1 it is. West Ham with that chance to shoot. Paqueta's effort blocked away by Gabriel. I mean, had that got in, we'd certainly be saying it came back on again. But Arsenal still have the 3-goal advantage, and West Ham now have got a free kick within shooting range. Emerson, the former Chelsea man, is standing over it. What a first half this has been. 39 minutes, 5 goals already. You can listen on the go with the BBC Sounds app. There's been much to enjoy. So much drama, so much action in these opening 39-40 minutes already. Soler standing over it. Emerson has the body language, though, the man who's going to strike it. Odegaard, for all his talent, is given the unglamorous job of lying as draft excluder, just on the ground behind the Arsenal wall. It's a good distance, this. Emerson strikes it, score! What a free kick! Emerson Palmieri to the posted stamp corner. His first goal of the season. He couldn't have hit that any better. That was an Andy Reid free kick, I'll tell you. 40 minutes, West Ham 2, Arsenal 4. This is a box office Premier League game.
Absolutely incredible, brilliant. What a free kick. You mentioned there about the distance, and I think that's the key to this. It's not too close, it's a little bit further. It's probably about 3 or 4 yards back from the edge of the box, and it just gives them enough room to get it up and get it back down again. And it's that accurate that it clips the underside of the post and gives Raya absolutely no chance. That was an incredible free kick. What a game we've got on our hands here.
West Ham, who've really only had 3 attacks in the game, they've scored 2 goals. They've come from their fullbacks. Aaron Wan-Bissaka with the first of them, Emerson Palmieri with the second. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't a fait accompli just yet. Wan-Bissaka wins a big tackle on Calafiori, and the ball nearly ran through to Bowen. West Ham have awoken from the slumber, but it was such a deep slumber. Have they given themselves so much to do? West Ham 2, Arsenal 4. Mikel Arteta, we were praising how well his team has played. He won't believe how this has hit a road bump. I mean, they still have the 2-goal advantage. Saka's been drawn in to a war of words and maybe a bit more than that, and he's been shown a yellow card on the far side. Bukayo Saka, one of the West Ham players, has been shown yellow too, and a big scuffle of players inside the Arsenal half. What a game, Andy, what a game.
Yeah, well, I think Arsenal need to just regain their composure a little bit. You know, they need to get their foot on the ball. They need to start playing again, need to start dominating that possession. I don't think there was too much in that. There's a little bit heated. I think the emotions are running high after the goals that have just been scored. But all of a sudden, the stadium doesn't look so empty, huh?
There has been a lot of reverse ferreting going on here. There's been a lot of U-turns. And West Ham fans, some of them almost sheepishly making their way back up the tall staircases of this former Olympic Stadium to return to their seats, because suddenly it's interesting again. A game that appeared to have slipped away from them.
They were only going to the toilet.
Of course. There's a few who'll be thinking about the cues for half-time now, but the topics of conversation will be wide and ranging. There's so much to discuss here. There really is. You look at the passage of how things have gone down here. You remember the disallowed goal for Somerville as well. I mean, it could have been very easily 4-3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by momentum in football, you know, and how quickly it can shift, and you know, and how a goal can kind of change the whole feeling around the place, and you know, and then to get 2 back, it just gives everybody in the West Ham camp a bit of a lift. The fans are back on side. They're quite loud again. We're hearing cheers now when they're winning throw-in. So, you know, they need to keep their composure as well, and they've done a decent job to get themselves back into it.
I'm trying to remember the game. Do you remember there was a match? Was it Newcastle Arsenal quite a long time ago where it was 4-0 and they came back to make it 4-4? Newcastle, they were 4-0 down, I think, inside the first half that day. Yeah,
Alan Pardew would have been manager, I think, then, and I think Tiote might have scored a goal.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look it up here. You're right, Tiote with the famous one, Sheikh Tiote. Theo Walcott scored after 44 seconds. Johan Joru, Robin van Persie. Arsenal were 3-0 up inside 10 minutes that day. Then they were down to 10. Abu Diaby sent off, and there was a couple of penalties from Joey Barton, who played for Newcastle in those days. Leon Best scored, and you're right, Sheikh Tiote's goal for 4-4. So it is possible. We're not saying it's probable or likely, but stranger things have happened in the Premier League in the past?
Arteta didn't play in that game, did he?
That's a very good question. I'm looking at a BBC Sport website page from 2011, which back then it wasn't as easy to navigate to find these things. Here we go, here's the team. No, there's no Arteta. That's probably why they let the lead slip. Midfield that day, Fabregas, Diaby, Jack Wilshere, who of course has got West Ham connections as well, but no Mikel Arteta that day. Into the final minute of the 45, a stunning first half really at London Stadium. Gabriel scoring from a header in the corner after 10 minutes. Trossard doubled the lead to 27 minutes. Odegaard made it 3-0, 34 minutes. 2 minutes after that, Havertz scoring. 4-0 after 36 minutes, and we thought, well, we might as well pack up and go home. This is done and dusted. But the crazy nature of the game is to continue. 2 minutes after the Havertz goal, Wan-Bissaka made it 4-1, and 3 minutes after that, Emerson made it 4-2. So from the Odegaard goal to the Emerson goal, there were 4 goals here in, my maths are terrible, 7 minutes. 4 goals in 7 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably a good sign when you're watching a football match is how quickly it goes, and it only feels like we've been watching for 10 minutes. It's gone so quickly. It's really gone within the blink of an eye, and it's been a brilliant game to watch. I have to say, there's been some excellent football. Some of the football that Arsenal played has been absolutely incredible, and then you look at the goals then that West Ham have scored. 2 really good goals. I know we didn't maybe get a chance to speak about Wan-Bissaka's, but it was a lovely weighted through ball from Soler. It really was. Wan-Bissaka just had to step onto a timer's run. He didn't even have to take a touch. He just slotted it in that near post. So 2 really, really good goals from West Ham.
Free kick to Arsenal, who lead 4-2 here. We're into the 5 minutes that have been added on for stoppages at the end of an absolutely manic first half at London Stadium. West Ham fans booing and cheering. They feel Declan Rice, their former player, is taking way too long over this. It's the usual rehearsed routine for Arsenal. Havertz attacks at the front post, Kilman with him. Kilman gets the last touch out for a corner. Good delivery out from Declan Rice, and they nearly created another opportunity. Arsenal so dangerous at set pieces.
Yeah, it was a brilliant delivery, really was. Just on the inside of the defender where he's worried about where he's potentially going to head it to. I thought Havertz might be maybe being a little bit harsh on him. I thought he could have attacked it a little bit more, because he's a really good header of the football.
So it's another corner. It's time to be led on the merry dance again as the Arsenal players retreat to their position behind the far post from where it's going to come. Mikel Antonio comes across to Gabriel, and it's linebacker in NFL stuff. He's like, right, you jump and I'm going to just shimmy in front of you. I'm going to stop wherever you want to go. Antonio's not even looking at the ball. He's only looking at Gabriel, who's managed to give him the slip. Here's the corner play, and Gabriel header over the crossbar this time, with the keeper advancing towards him. That's a fascinating tussle, how Gabriel was able to give Antonio the slip there. He's gone down holding his head, Gabriel. He's saying that he was collided with. I don't know if that was the goalkeeper or what it was, but he's on the ground. Anthony Taylor, by the way, is the referee, and there's all sorts of complaints and protests by everyone. It's a yellow card for Fabianski. Is this going to be a penalty? This is not being clear. He's not pointed clearly to the spot, Anthony Taylor, but if he's going to show Fabianski a yellow card for fouling Gabriel, then it's got to be. He comes out to punch the ball, Fabianski, and the follow-through of the punch goes into the head of Gabriel. He is punched as he swishes his glove through the air, Fabianski. This is a really interesting one, Andy Reid.
Yeah, really interesting one. I'm really undecided on this. I have to be honest with you. I understand that he catches him and he doesn't get anything of the ball, and I suppose maybe by the letter of the law it is a penalty. Keepers have been getting away with this for such a long time, and they haven't really been given penalties again, so I think we're still a bit unsure, aren't we?
Well, I mean, no wonder that this first half has thrown up another talking point in stoppages here. Gabriel back to his feet, that's the booze. Look, Fabianski will say that ball was there to come and punch it. I'm entitled to go and punch that ball. The question then is, where does the responsibility lie? Where the fist actually lands. And it's not exactly a Mike Tyson punch. It sort of grazes the side of his head. Now, that said, a punch is a punch, but it's going to be a penalty. It's going to be a chance for Arsenal to get their 5th goal of this first half.
I mean, if it is a player, an outfield player, and he goes to make contact with the ball and doesn't make contact with the ball, but makes contact with the opposition player, it's a free kick, isn't it? And I don't know whether it is slightly different for the keeper. maybe a little bit unlucky. I'm not too sure.
Well, the video assistant referee today is Michael Salisbury, assisted by Mark Scholes. They've had a look at it. Saka's going to take this one.
Saka's going to take this one. Interesting.
So Saka, who lined up to take the first one, but at the last minute swapped with Odegaard, he is going to take this one. Odegaard's first penalty was perfect. This to make it 5-2. Bonkers Premier League game. Bukayo Saka scores. Sends the keeper the other way this time. Fabianski was close to both spot kicks. He got a touch on that one, but he couldn't keep it out. And the roller coaster of emotions from West Ham, just when they thought they were being dragged back into the game, Arsenal stretch away again. An 8-goal classic. I'm losing the run of it now. 7-goal classic of a first half. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. Get the abacus out.
Yeah, Fabianski's really unlucky there. He gets a decent hand to it. Maybe could have done a little bit better again. I think I probably have a tendency to be quite harsh on goalkeepers. But he gets a hand to it, but maybe just not enough. The West Ham players, when they were walking back, they're still complaining to Anthony Taylor. They're not happy with that, and you know you can tell that they feel aggrieved.
Well, that'll be one to discuss. Best of luck and thoughts and prayers with whoever's doing the edit of this game for Match of the Day tonight, because how do you condense all of this into highlights? We've played the 5 minutes that were due to be added on. There'll obviously be a bit more now after all that kerfuffle of the penalty decision. Worth mentioning as well that Gabriel's been totally fine in the middle of all that. He was able to recover and play on despite the glove from Fabianski connecting with him. And West Ham have come down the other end and they've got a free kick here, but I think many of those West Ham fans who left it at 4-0, who could have come scampering back at 4-2, they might be deciding that it's time to go back to Plan A again and head towards the eggs. I mean, this is remarkable first half. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5 in the first half isn't over yet, Andy Reid.
No, it's not. I mean, what a game for Arsenal fans, and what a game for the neutral. If you're watching this or listening to this, I mean, it really is incredible. There's been some brilliant football in it. Really good goals. It's had so much action. It's had controversy. It's had a bit of everything, hasn't it?
Is there going to be more? This might be the final act of the first half. Emerson's free kick, slightly further out than the first one. The wall is positioned a couple of paces inside the penalty area. Emerson, who struck the first one perfectly to beat David Raya. Could he possibly make this 5-3? Here he comes, the Italian international, over the wall, over the crossbar. It wasn't very far away at all. David Raya got his fingertips to it. It's going to be a corner to West Ham. And this stunning first half ain't over yet.
Yeah, it was a really good free kick. It was dipping, and I think it might have been hitting the crossbar, but Raya couldn't take any chances, and he needed to get fingertips on that.
Corner to West Ham. Emerson to take it. Busy penalty area. Here it comes, left-footed from the right-hand side, headed down and headed away. And Anthony Taylor brings the whistle to his mouth, and he blows the whistle for the break. What about that? An incredible 45 minutes. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. Doesn't tell the half of it, with the West Ham goal disallowed in there as well. I was going to say at 4-2, Andy, that it may be the first time in Premier League history that a team go in at half-time having scored 4 goals and might actually have been disappointed, because I think Arsenal were stunned at the manner of how they allowed West Ham score those back-to-back goals. But the fact they've gone and got another one for themselves, I think Mikel Arteta is going to see this as such a positive overall.
Yeah, well, I think they regained their composure. I think that's what we said what we said they needed to do. You've seen Saka getting a bit irritated, and there was a couple of little tussles, and he ended up getting booked, and they calmed it all down. They won themselves a corner, and then obviously got that second penalty then to take away. But as we've just mentioned, a brilliant half of football. Thoroughly enjoyable game.
Enjoyable doesn't say the half of it. Wan-Bissaka and Emerson for West Ham, Gabriel, Trossard, Odegaard, Havertz, and then Saka again for the penalty spot, scoring for Arsenal. And sometimes, chappers, we're kind of waiting to hand back to you. We've nothing to say. Jeepers, we could have watched that all night. That was a brilliant first half.
Thank you very much to you both. Second half on the way. Definitely the game of the day, that one. Elsewhere today, Brentford 4, Leicester 1. Crystal Palace got a late equaliser at home to Newcastle. That finished 1-1. Chris Wood got the only goal of the game from the penalty spot as Nottingham Forest beat Ipswich. And speaking of penalties, Evan Nielsen became the first player in Premier League history to win 3 penalties in the same game. And then Justin Kluivert became the first player to convert 3 penalties in a single Premier League game as Bournemouth won 4-2 at Wolves. And going on at the moment, a couple of games that will be of interest. England and the USA in the Women's Friendly International has just started the second half. That's goalless, and you can listen to that on Sports Extra. Big game in the Bundesliga tonight as well. Borussia Dortmund against Bayern Munich, and an Englishman has scored in that. Jamie Gittins has put Borussia Dortmund a goal up. He scored in the Champions League midweek, and he has got the only goal of the game so far in that. So it is Borussia Dortmund 1, Bayern 0. You'll hear from Gary O'Neill and Oliver Glasner, amongst others, during half-time after Dan Morsley in the news.
The voice of the UK.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Evening. Reports from Aleppo say huge numbers of civilians are fleeing as rebels consolidate their grip on Syria's second city. Anti-government forces are understood to control a majority of Aleppo, including the main airport, after launching a surprise offensive 4 days ago. Rebels are now reportedly sweeping south towards the city of Hama. The American charity World Central Kitchen says it's pausing its operations in Gaza following reports that 3 of its employees were killed in an Israeli drone strike. Israel said it had targeted a car in the southern city of Khan Yunis and killed an October the 7th attacker. The charity said it had no knowledge of anyone in the car being linked to the attack. Some MPs who backed plans for assisted dying in England and Wales have called for changes to the bill over concerns that doctors could raise the idea with terminally ill adults without being prompted. The Doctors' Union, the British Medical Association, has argued they should be trusted to use professional judgment. And a memorial service has been held for the former First Minister of Scotland, Alex Salmond, who died suddenly last month, aged 69. Large crowds gathered outside St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh.
The Football Daily Podcast
On BBC Sounds.
Ruben Amorim, hello, welcome to the Football Daily.
People always believe that the next guy is the right guy. We have to play better, to win games, and to be, I think, really honest with the supporters.
When I had this invitation, I felt that I had to do this. Maybe it's destiny.
You have to know a little bit the history of Manchester United. I believe that we are going to succeed. I feel the confidence of people, and that is really important at this stage.
The Football Daily Podcast.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is 5 Live Sport
With Mark Chapman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Let's bring you some reaction to the day's Premier League games. We'll start at Molineux. Wolves beaten 4-2 at home by Bournemouth. Justin Kluivert with a hat-trick of penalties for the visitors. Not a great day for Gary O'Neill.
Yeah, incredibly disappointing. I think self-inflicted. Some crazy errors there, especially early in the game. It's very difficult then once you start as we do. The lads are equally disappointed. There's an understanding in there of what the difference was today compared to the last few, and we need to turn our attentions quickly to Wednesday with a big test away at Everton that we can go and get something from.
Does this come into the category of an avoidable defeat?
I think Bournemouth ask you certain questions, and unfortunately we didn't find enough answers to give away the goals that we do. Channel ball from Senesi that we worked on for ages. We did loads of work on it to concede in the first minute from that. Gives you a battle, and then we end up getting ourselves back into it with a good goal, and then crazy penalties to give away, crazy. So we need to make sure that we write them off, of course, because you have no chance of winning a game if you're going to give away goals like that.
Chris is here alongside me, ready for 606 a little bit later on. 08085 909 693. It'd be interesting to hear from Wolves fans on that, because it was self-inflicted.
It was an incredible start to the game, and Wolves, it looked like in recent times they turned a corner under Gary O'Neill, but I've got to say Bournemouth were fabulous. They've got a goal in them, and they thoroughly deserve the victory. But I mean, from Wolves' perspective, I think it's 32 goals they've conceded in the Premier League. Where are Wolves fans with Gary O'Neill?
OK, so that's that. Let's go to Crystal Palace next, who got a late equaliser at home to Newcastle, took them out of the bottom 3. Here's Oliver Glasner.
Well, Oliver, we saw your celebrations at the end. Have you ever celebrated a goal quite as enthusiastically as that?
Oh yes, I did. I remember, but it was in other situations it was the game winner, and I think today it was the equalizer. But we still feel that we would have deserved more today with the performance, with the chances we had. But of course, if you score the equalizer in the 95th minute, you have to be satisfied. That's what we are. But we all feel that we would have deserved more.
For Daniel Munoz, it was a very important goal because of his miss in the first half. Did you say anything to him at half-time after that bad miss to sort of keep his mind together?
No, because I know him, and this can happen. It's football, and I just spoke to him after the game, and I said, you should take the ball. Usually you have to take the ball home after scoring a hat-trick, because it was the first one was the easiest one, the second one was a credit to Dan Burn with the save on the goal line, and the most difficult one he scored. So, but he's always there. He's always running there on the far post. We know this, and also he got the reward today.
That wasn't a great game.
It wasn't. I mean, who knows? Have you seen the miss? I mean,
it's part of my job. I do keep trying to tell you on a Saturday afternoon. It is part of my job to be watching everything.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies for that. But it was one of the misses of the season. Even I would have popped that in at my age. And then
would you have scored the header that he
probably
that
not?
Okay.
That'd have probably hit me in the nose and gone wide. But the Newcastle, who I mean, they're a sort of strange team this season. Have been inconsistent, but there's a brilliant header at the end, and of course Mark Gahey, that was his own goal, which gave Newcastle the lead. Ball in from him. How important could that point be for? I don't think Oliver Glasner is under pressure, but I think we all expected Crystal Palace to be making greater progress than they have so far.
I don't just hand to Deno at 3:00 and go to the pub for an hour.
Yeah. Apologies for that.
It may sound like I do, but I genuinely don't. Ruud van Nistelrooy is taking over as the Leicester manager. He watched from the stands, though, as they lost 4-1 at Brentford. Hat-trick for Kevin Schade. That took the home side up to 7th. Let's hear from Leicester's caretaker manager, Ben Dawson.
At times, the bit on the pitch is always enjoyable. Some of the other bits around the decision making and everything else that cause you a bit of stress, not so much at times, but it's part and parcel of the job, and it's part and parcel of why you want to be involved in the game at the top level.
Ruud was sat behind us during the game. I know he did come down here. Did he go into the dressing room and speak to the players afterwards?
I'm not sure. Not while I was there. Obviously, I've come out and done the press now, so I'm not sure if he has been in or not, but I know he'll get a chance to address the players tomorrow morning at the training ground.
And how big a job has he got on his hands, would you say?
I think it's difficult to say. We're 13 games into the season. I'm not sure how other results have gone. I haven't looked yet. But I think in terms of performance today, there's some good parts, there's some not some good parts. Challenge is to try and get more of the good parts for 90 minutes.
One of the not so good parts, would you say, is the defending over the 90 minutes today? Is that one of the main priorities to get that sorted?
I think, in terms of 4 goals conceded, some decision making in those key moments. It's always difficult. Any Premier League game, you're coming up against quality players, and sometimes the goals are down to their excellent bit of play. Sometimes it's a mistake from us, but it's something that's only going to get better with hard work on the training ground.
Brentford have the best home record in the division, meanwhile, 19 points from an available 21. Here's Thomas Frank.
It's fantastic. I'm not lost for word, but last year we won 5 times at home. Now we won 6. The year before we were very good at home. I think only lost 2 games. So
what's the difference? What's happened from last year to this year?
I think a big thing we know last year, I think we started very well still. This season we keep developing the team. I think we are working very, very hard on the offensive part of it. How to build out in phase 1, but especially phase 3. I think we're very strong there, and how we run on the last line and how we produce crosses and situations, the principles for that. And then you can do nothing without good players. I have good players, very good players that are in form, confident, positive going forward in many ways. Best, I guess you will ask me about Kevin Schade.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Best exemplified.
You bring him in.
So we have Johan Wissa and Brian Burma that's been on fire, and then we bring another one in, and he scores 3 goals and an assist. So very pleased with that, of course. Today we actually play with 4 winger strikers and at number 10. That's very, very offensive. But you can only do that if they work unbelievable hard. and put the effort in, which they did.
So Brentford are 7th and Nottingham Forest are 6th after Chris Wood got the only goal of the game from the spot against Ipswich. Here he is.
Chris, fair to say far from a classic, but the important thing is you got all 3 points.
Yeah, most definitely. That's what it was about, getting back to what we know and what we were good at the start of the season, the first, 9 games and things like that, 10 games. So, I think we've done really well in that sense.
How did it play out for you? Obviously, you got the winning goal, but if I'm looking back from an observer's point of view, you didn't have that much in terms of goal threat and opportunity. It was a frustrating day, but you took your chance when it mattered.
Look, yeah, it's never about that. I mean, some days it's going to go like that, and some days it's going to be tough, and you have to grind in and dig as a team. That's what we had to do, and chances become limited at both ends, and that's great for us defensively. And we just got to take the opportunity when it lands at our feet.
What do you make of Ipswich today?
Look, they kept us problems, gave us problems, and they're a good side, and they've done well all season so far. But thankfully, we've got the win at home now. That's big.
From a personal perspective, you've equalled the club record of Brian Roy, 24 Premier League goals. Quite an achievement, but you want more?
Most definitely, yeah. I mean, it's fantastic, but yeah, I want to keep going and keep pushing and just keep working as hard for the team as I can.
Well, who else do you want to hear from then?
Well, I want to hear from Nottingham Forest fans. My team, Chris Wood, absolutely flying there. Do you know what? I've got to say, Ipswich Town, felt sorry for them. I don't think it should have been a penalty. I thought Jota Silva made a massive meal. There was contact. There has to be sufficient contact. Ipswich Town fans, were you hard done by? I want to hear from Leicester City fans. Ruud van Nistelrooy, smart move from him today, flying into Heathrow, not taking over the team before the Brentford game, because I think they were always going to get thrashed. Is he the right appointment? A lot of the Leicester fans happy, it seems, that Steve Cooper was let go.
Coventry fans?
Coventry City fans, yeah, Frank Lampard in charge. They came from 2-1 down to draw 2-2. Norwich City fans, a great week for Norwich City. 10 goals, what a team. And even I was pleased Todd Cantwell scored today for Blackburn Rovers. Battle of the Roses, is that right?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So well done to Lancashire. Leeds United, where are you on Daniel Farker? Sheffield, top of the championship.
Hibs fans,
yeah, big win against Motherwell today. I don't know if the Hibs are off the bottom.
They are.
Yeah. They're off the bottom. So that was an important one. And of course, Celtic.
Leyton Orient fans.
Leyton Orient fans did that. I think they won 2-1, did they? You're really testing me here.
The goalkeeper scored.
Oh, yeah.
That's your area of expertise.
That is. Yeah, my son scored a goalkeeper last week, and they had another touch, Wroxham, today, and the fact they were 3-0 down and the game was cancelled because of floodlight failure. So a win again.
A win?
Well, it's sort of win.
08085 909 693 to talk to Chris and Aaron. Paul, Jamie Broughton at the snooker.
Well, Judd Trump will find out tonight who will play in the final tomorrow after beating Karen Wilson by 6-2 today. Mark Allen taking on Barry Hawkins. Allen is a former champion, so he knows what it takes to lift this famous trophy, while Hawkins has already knocked out the defending champion Ronnie O'Sullivan and really impressed this week. Play begins at 7 o'clock. It's live on BBC Two.
To Rob Schofield watching England-USA at Wembley.
59 minutes gone, 0-0. Emma Hayes' side have gone up a gear. Haran and Ryan coming close, but England have responded with a couple shots on target of their own. They're growing into this one, 0-0 for now.
And England's cricketers have just won a 30-20 international against South Africa, and they thrashed them by 9 wickets. So they win that series 3-0, and it's now on to the ODIs before the one-off test. Both teams back out for the second half at the London Stadium. Goodness knows what's going to come in this 45 minutes. Here are Andy Reid and Conor McNamara.
There's no chance there's going to be any more goals. This is going to be a 0-0 second half. That is stonewall guaranteed. Incredible first half. It was record equalling in its sense in terms of the number of goals scored. We're back on the way with teams changing, making substitutions. Edson Alvarez has come on for Crescencio Somerville for West Ham, and Arsenal brought on Jakub Kiwior in place of Gabriel who scored the header from a corner that set up the first goal, and Gabriel who won the penalty from a corner that produced the 7th goal of that first half here at London Stadium in what's been a really remarkable game so far. Arsenal hoping to keep in touch with the leaders of the Premier League, Liverpool, who play against Manchester City tomorrow. But Arsenal, who really, at times in that first half, and you take away, okay, the 2 goals that West Ham scored, Andy Reid, but at times that is as good as Arsenal can be. They were brilliant in the first half.
Yeah, really, really good performance. Some of the football and combinations, overloads that they create centrally, wide areas, up in the top end of the pitch, how they link people together. A really, really high quality, high level of performance in that first half, and I think it probably leads on to the question: what are they going to be like now in this second half? Are they going to look to kind of really go for it, get more goals, or are they going to look to keep possession and maybe not commit too many men forward? So I think we'll probably know in the next 5 or so minutes what the mentality is of this Arsenal team in the second half.
Over 30 years of the Premier League era, this is only the 4th time that a Premier League match has had 7 goals scored in the first half alone. It happened Blackburn against Leeds in the late 90s, Bradford against Derby in the year 2000, and it happened in a Reading Man United game in 2012. But an incredible first half, and let's see where the game goes now. Calafiori has possession on the far side. Alvarez has come to slot into the midfield for West Ham, so Bowen goes to join Antonio in attack, and then he's got midfield behind him with Soucek, Paqueta, Soler. And then it's the back 4 with Wan-Bissaka, Jean-Claire Todibo, Max Kilman and Emerson Palmieri. Wan-Bissaka and Palmieri, the 2 goal scorers of the first half for West Ham. And Fabianski, the former Arsenal player in goal, who did choose the right side for both penalties that he's faced, but couldn't keep either of them out. The Arsenal team with Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Kivior now, and Calafiori as the defence. Odegaard, Jorginho and Rice in the midfield. Saka, Havertz and Trossard are the front 3. Martin Odegaard looked at his imperious best in that first half. Some of his vision and passes that he played were world class.
Yeah, his positional play is brilliant. He just always finds himself in space, and here he is passing the ball to Saka again.
Saka into the penalty area, right hand side, tries to cross, comes off Emerson Palmieri. It's another Arsenal corner. This has been the big Christmas pantomime effort of the game, and we'll go through the routine again. Arsenal corner, can West Ham keep them out?
Yeah, it's really difficult. Right on cue there when you mentioned Odegaard and he pops up in that little pocket. It's so difficult to mark. I really like the delivery from Saka. I think it's really good. It's a little bit flat. There's not an awful lot of pace on it, so even if the defender does win it, he doesn't get the opportunity to head it too far away.
Arsenal going through their routine. Saka's going to take it. Near side of the pitch from us, sends it in towards the front post. It's met by Calafiori, who puts it up over the top. Remember, Gabriel has gone off now, but Calafiori got to the ball first. It was a tight angle of the front post, and he wasn't able to get it on target. Ricardo Calafiori, whose 1 goal for Arsenal so far was that brilliant left-footed strike against Manchester City in September. Andy Reid.
Yeah, I think the Arsenal fans will be really hoping that there's nothing serious wrong in the Gabriel situation, because we'll look at Gabriel and Saliba, and they're an absolutely incredible partnership. They're quick, they're strong, they've got no problem defending 1v1. They like a battle, they like to play football. As a partnership, they've got a bit of everything. We've seen how they've handled Antonio today, how they handled Gorkas the other night. They're really, really difficult to play against. So Arsenal fans will be hoping that there's nothing too serious going on there.
An important point that we haven't mentioned in a while is that Julian Lopetegui is watching this game from the stands, so the halftime team talk would have been given by Pablo Sanz, his long-term assistant. The referee just holding up play because for a moment there were 2 balls on the pitch, and I think many of the Arsenal players weren't quite sure why he held up play there, but it'll resume with an uncontested drop ball, which is just outside the West Ham penalty area. But referee Anthony Taylor gives the ball to Martin Odegaard, and Arsenal get it back and they retreat back into their own half. Now, you mentioned to me at half-time, Andy, good memory, we were talking about the penalty where Fabianski comes out trying to punch the ball, but he punches the side of the head of Gabriel, was given as a penalty, and you said it reminded you of an event not so long ago in a Manchester United Wolves game. Was it last season or the season before, which VAR came out and said that the PGMOL came out and said that they got that one wrong. Onana came out and Kalajdzic cleaned him out, and it wasn't given as a penalty that day. And the referee Simon Hooper and the VAR Michael Salisbury were then dropped from games they were supposed to do the following weekend as a result. So PGMOL accepting the decision was wrong. So here it's Fabianski's come out, he's cleaned out the attacker, and the penalty has been given. But what's really interesting is that the VAR is the same. So Michael Salisbury, in the back of his head, he'll have remembered being benched for a game after that decision, the Man United Wolves game, and he didn't overturn Anthony Taylor's on-field decision today.
Yeah, for me, it's a similar incident, but I do think that there's some differences, and from what I remember, and I haven't seen it for a little bit, from what I remember, Onana really did take the Wolves player out. I actually think Fabianski's a little bit unlucky there. He kind of grazed him a little bit. He didn't punch him really hard in the head. There wasn't an awful lot of contact.
He didn't get the ball. I guess that's the trouble, isn't it? You come out, there's contact and no ball, that's the trouble.
And then I suppose the question is it any kind of contact is a penalty, or does it have to be a certain amount of contact? And I haven't got a clue.
Well, it's going to be a talking point. I mean, I think if the scoreline was narrower here, it would be a bigger issue, and West Ham would maybe feel more aggrieved about it, but 3 goals between the teams, it sort of gets mixed in the wash. Let's go back to Wembley. England against USA was a 5:20 kick-off, women's international friendly. Here's Rob Schofield.
66 minutes gone, it's goalless, but we thought USA had a penalty. Yasmin Ryan, who's been a threat since coming on, took a top shot through the crowd, and Alex Green was penalised for handball after about 4 or 5 minute delay. The referee, sent to the screen by VAR, overturned the decision. A couple of replays showing it hit her mid-drift first. Goalless.
Thanks very much, Rob. In the Gallagher English Premiership, turnaround for Exeter, who were 7-0 behind early on away at Bath, but Exeter now lead that game 7-8. 5 Live at BBC Sounds at London Stadium. Conor Soler in possession for West Ham. Arsenal defending on the edge of their penalty area. West Ham playing from right to left as we look down. The claret and blue. Bowen strikes with lots of power from outside the box, but it sails over the crossbar. West Ham trying to reignite their interest in this game, and Bowen went for the spectacular there.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned him too much, and he's a player that I really like. I think he's really effective, and I think he's been brilliant for, he was brilliant for Hull, but he's also been brilliant for West Ham. And we haven't really mentioned him that much tonight, and maybe that's credit to Arsenal as well. Obviously on his right foot and not his favourite side. But I'm just thinking if West Ham do get another goal and they make it 5-3. It starts to get a little bit closer. Will Arsenal get a little bit edgy? Be interesting.
West Ham United 2, Arsenal 5. Free kick given to Arsenal on the halfway line. Timbers taking it quickly to Martin Odegaard. Some West Ham players were complaining they need to get back in position here. It's Havertz inside the penalty area, right hand side. Tries to pull it back to the edge of the box where Declan Rice was waiting, but the ball doesn't come through to him. Paqueta clears it away. William Saliba on the halfway line will nudge it back to the goalkeeper Raya, whose first touch wasn't great, but then he smashes it clear with his second, and that's going to continue all the way through to Fabianski, the former Arsenal goalkeeper, between the sticks for West Ham away to our right hand side here. Earlier on today, defeat for Leicester away at Brentford. Ruud van Nistelrooy was watching on from the stands, having been announced as the new Leicester manager, but it finished Brentford 4, Leicester 1. Crystal Palace got a late equaliser at Selhurst Park against Newcastle. Palace 1, Newcastle 1. Forest, good win for them at home against Ipswich. Forest up into the top 6. Wolves 2, Bournemouth 4. Justin Kluivert got a hat-trick of penalties in that game. First player to score 3 top-flight penalties in a match since the 1950s. Here is Antonio turning on the edge of the area and shooting just wide. He did well, Antonio, received it with his back to goal, defenders around him. He spun and shot in one motion, and it took a deflection because it's going to be a West Ham corner.
Yeah, they're the type of areas that Antonio really comes into his own. He's strong, he's able to hold off the defenders, and he turns and takes a real quick snapshot. And if kind of keeper struggles a little bit, and it takes a tiny bit of a deflection as well.
So the corner is taken from the left-hand side by Emerson. Falls to Wan-Bissaka, who's on the score sheet in this game. Wan-Bissaka dribbles his way into the penalty area, gives it back out to Emerson on the left-hand side. Arsenal still lying deep inside the box as it's played in by Antonio. Suchek jumps and wins on the far post, but he can't nod it down to a teammate. And Trossard should be able to clear here. And Paqueta lunges in unnecessarily on him. Why did he do that? He's given the free kick to Trossard, and that becomes a much easier clearance for Arsenal now. That's a rush of blood to the head from Paqueta.
As a coach or a manager, they're the type of things that drive you absolutely mad. They really, really do. You know, you've got Trossard over in his own left-hand corner. He's struggling to get out. He's got nowhere to go, and all he wants to do is invite the foul. And Paquetá just gives it to him. Absolutely ridiculous from somebody so experienced as well. You know, drives you mad.
Needs to use his head there, Paquetá. Right, Arsenal going to make another change. They already brought on Kivior at half-time, and now they're going to make another defensive swap. Ricardo Calafiori, who's still easing his way back in from injury. He's now started the last 3 games in all competitions, but he'd missed the previous 5 matches with a knee problem. So Calafiori goes off, Zinchenko comes on to play at left-back. So Arsenal's defence now, Raya behind Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Zinchenko. They lead 5-2 here at London Stadium in this bonkers 5:30 kickoff and 5 Live and BBC Sounds. This is Bowen on the far side of the pitch from us. West Ham with their claret in blue playing from right to left. Arsenal in the change strip, all black. Here's Soler, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Makes a burst into the box, and Saliba cruising. I mean, he looked so comfortable under pressure there, Saliba, to win the ball. Mind you, it looked great as he cleared it away. Poor pass from Saliba, and Odegaard runs in to help out, and Odegaard does well and clears the ball away. Kilman gets it back for West Ham. West Ham's body language is okay here. They haven't allowed their heads to drop. They might have conceded 5 goals, but they believe there might be a way back into it. Wan-Bissaka plays a 1-2 on the edge of the box, gives it outside to the right-hand side. Low ball in by Antonio. He was looking for Bowen, and there was too many Arsenal defenders back there, and they've been able to clear away. And Trossard tackled at the halfway line by Jean-Claire Todibo.
Yeah, I think it'll be Arteta will be the one that's feeling, you know, slightly uncomfortable. You know, he's chatting with his coaching staff down there. He's just thinking, how can we start to assert their dominance on this game again? How can we, you know, create them overloads? How can we get possession of the ball? At one point in the first half, the possession was really, really high in Arsenal's favour. In this second half, I would imagine now that there's a bit more towards West Ham. So, you know, they're in a decent enough place, West Ham, at the moment. They probably just need to try and get a goal on the back of it.
West Ham United 2, Arsenal 5, and Bukayo Saka's on the prowl again, down the right wing for Arsenal. Steps into the penalty area, 2 defenders back away from him, tries to play it to the edge of the area. Antonio should have cleared that, but he dilly-dallied, and Arsenal hold on to it, and they get it back to Saka again on the right-hand side. Zinchenko's got on the overlap of him. Zinchenko back to Odegaard, chance to shoot, goes around Antonio, shoots towards the bottom corner, but Fabianski gets down to make the save, and 5-2 to Arsenal it remains.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't be a massive fan of letting Odegaard come in on his left foot, a little bit like Saka won in the first half. Try and get him on his right foot. You know, I understand it's difficult. He moves his feet really well. His body shape is really good. He manipulates the ball, but you have to find a way to keep him on his right foot. It ended up being a reasonably comfortable save for Fabianski, but if you give him too many of them opportunities, he's going to take one.
Arsenal, who won both of their opening 2 Premier League away games this season, but they haven't won any of the 4 league matches away from home since. They win, they lead 5-2 here. Saka into the penalty area, was off balance as he tried to cross it. Last touch off, Emerson puts it out for an Arsenal corner. So Nicolas Jova, the set-piece coach, will be giving the wink and the nod, and his work at the training ground will come to the fore once again. Saka is slow to get back to his feet, and in fact Jurrien Timber now is called to the touchline, and he says that Saka is going to need the physio here. So on what's been a day of mostly bright high points for Arsenal, scoring 5, this is a moment of concern now. One of their key players, Bukayo Saka, appears to have hurt himself and is down in the penalty area.
Yeah, as he's shot and he's followed through after he's kicked the ball, he's just clipped the defender's kind of ankle, and it looks like it's caused him some kind of discomfort on his ankle, whether he's just kind of jarred it a little bit. Hopefully it'll be all right for him. You know, that'll just be one of them that will maybe be a little bit stiff, but you can loosen off and get on with it.
Right, well, just to remind you, Max Verstappen may have won the driver's title, but can McLaren win their first constructors' title since 1998? We've got commentary of qualifying from Qatar, the race at 3:45 on Sunday, tomorrow on Sports Extra. Let's go back to Wembley, the women's international friendly between England and USA, and Rob Schofield.
Still goalless, Connor, 0-0, but as we enter the last 15 minutes, a couple of changes Serena Wiegmann has made. Chloe Kelly and Fran Kirby on for Jess Naz and Jess Park. England kind of ringing the changes as they push and open it up here. Beth Mead on the ball on the left. She'll attempt to cut in surely. Ball kind of falls to nothing in the end. Ball cross does come in the end, and it goes across the far post. England have grown into this one. USA started the second half brightly, but it's currently 0-0.
Thanks very much, Rob. 4 Premier League commentaries tomorrow, Premier League Sunday on 5 Live Sports Extra and the BBC Sport website, all building up to the big one, Liverpool against Manchester City, which kicks off at 4 p.m. here at London Stadium. It's been a remarkable game. An hour played. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. All the goals in the first half. Many of them from corners, and West Ham have got to defend an Arsenal corner here. Declan Rice, the former Hammer, stands over it, far side of the pitch from us. The left as Arsenal come forward, and he played that one in too low to the front post. Paqueta puts it out for a corner once again. Andy Reid.
Yeah, just a little bit short from Declan Rice. You know, I think the key to some of them near post deliveries are that you miss that first man. You know, if you can clear Paqueta's head, you know you've got them players steaming in there to that front post area.
Take 2 for Declan Rice. It's a slightly different routine this time for Arsenal. It's an in-swinger from Rice. It's a punch away by Fabianski. Zinchenko on the edge of the box cushions it down for Martin Odegaard. And then Jorginho will play it to Timber on the near touchline, but West Ham seem to have survived that particular Arsenal set piece. Bowen comes out from the back, tried to play it up to Antonio. Saliba gets there first. Antonio, who tried to change direction and lost his feet.
Yeah, I think it was actually a poor ball from Bowen there. I think he needed to feed it down the channel side for Antonio. You know, he tried to kind of play it over the back of Saliba's head, and Antonio was never going to be getting there. So, you know, I think he's made the wrong choice there.
Odegaard, who's been sparkling today, has been cut late, challenged by, was it Antonio? I think so. And Odegaard is not, no, it's Kilman, Max Kilman, on Martin Odegaard. It was inside the Arsenal half, and he's held onto his shoulder. And, you know, it's not a very physical tackle. I think it's the way Odegaard lands here. He's managed to hurt his right foot, and he does look in some distress, and that would be a real sour note for Arsenal fans if Odegaard was to anything wrong with him. He's already missed so many games this season. He's been brilliant today. He's on his haunches. I don't think he's going to need any treatment, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, no, I think he'll be okay. There was nothing really in that. You know, Kilman just wanted to apply a little bit of pressure, and you know, just as the ball kind of got cleared away, Odegaard just got kind of clipped on his foot. I don't think there was too much in it.
West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. If you're listening on BBC Sounds, you can spool your way back and rewind and listen to the big moments. They all came in the first half. It was 4-0 to Arsenal. West Ham got it back to 4-2, and then a controversial penalty and stoppage time before the break, so Arsenal get it to 5-2. Free kick to West Ham here. Julian Lopetegui watching from the stands. Pablo Sanz in charge of things in the technical area. And the home side are about to make a double change here. Danny Ings is going to come on, and Vladimir Sofal as well. Sofal was sent off in a game against Arsenal 3 seasons ago. Danny Ings, who scored a few goals in his career against Arsenal. And he's getting the instructions from Pablo Sanz down there, and Oscar Caro, who's the performance coach. So Emerson Palmieri, who's got a brilliant free kick in the first half, will make way. He'll get warm applause, I'm sure, from the West Ham fans for that. Sofal comes on for him, and just waiting to see who's going to come on. Who's going to come off to allow the introduction of Danny Ings. It's going to be Antonio. So straight swap up top. Danny Ings on for Antonio, and in defence, Emerson Palmieri replaced by Sofal.
Well, you know what you're going to get from Danny Ings. He'll make a lot of runs. He'll try to threaten the space in behind. You know, he can definitely sense where the goals, and he's got really good anticipation. He knows where that ball's going to drop. So it'll pose a different problem to the physicality of Antonio.
West Ham appealing for a penalty. Danny Ings involved in action for the first time, went down in the box there. The referee didn't give it a second glance. Play continues. Video assistant referee, of course, will be looking in the background. West Ham United 2, Arsenal 5. As Jorginho here gives it back to Saliba on the edge of the Arsenal penalty area. Arsenal playing from left to right as we look down, all in black. Kivior onto Zinchenko, 2 substitutes, and they've, between them, been able to release Declan Rice, who comes cruising over the halfway line, long strides, knows every blade of grass here at London Stadium, of course, from his years as a West Ham player. Arsenal get it onto Saka on the right wing. Short ball to Martin Odegaard, is not showing any ill effects from that collision with Kilman earlier. Poor pass though from Odegaard. He was behind Saka. Saka sprints to the sideline and manages to keep the ball in play. West Ham thought it got out. Odegaard continues the hustle here up against Alvarez, and Arsenal, with enough grits to hold on to possession there, have still got it inside West Ham territory. Saka tries to scoop it forward, needed more elevation. He's given it straight to Kilman. Early ball up to Jared Bowen. Arsenal fans claim that he handled it. Play on, says the referee. Bowen then with Sofal, who appeared to be fouled off the ball there. He was trying to make a run on the right wing. Bowen did well to keep his head and hold on to possession there. West Ham just about hold on to it. They still have it inside Arsenal territory. All sorts of complaints going on for referee Anthony Taylor to deal with, but he's allowed play to continue. Wan-Bissaka, who's switched to the left-hand side now since Sofal has come on the right. West Ham, who've scored 2 goals in the game, but they still trail by 3. It's been one of those crazy afternoons in the Premier League. By the way, you can watch the best of all the action later on. Match of the day, 10:25 tonight on BBC One and the iPlayer. Gary Lineker joined by Dion Dublin and Danny Murphy this evening. Soler in possession for West Ham, midway inside the Arsenal half. Gives it to Wan-Bissaka, who wants to play a 1-2 with Danny Ings, but the return leg of that isn't good enough, and Saka gets it back. Right-hand side for Arsenal, runs away down the wing, and he's tackled by Alvarez into touch. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5, it remains.
He does that so well, Saka. He gets the ball, he's got 2-3 men around him, but he still has the ability to get Arsenal 20, 30, 40 yards up the pitch, and that's such a good thing for the defenders. They can just come up, they get a throw in, he wins it for them, they retain possession, and they just take the sting out of it, because West Ham have had, they haven't had any chances, but they've had a little bit of a spell. But you just feel from a West Ham perspective that if they're going to make any kind of real challenge to get back into this game, then they're going to need a goal soon.
We're midway through the second half. There haven't been any goals in the second period yet, 7 of them in the first half. 6:06 to come with Aaron Paul and Chris Sutton taking your calls this evening on 5 Live. Your chance to get on the airwaves and let us know what you make of events up and down the land. It's been a busy day. FA Cup ties, Scottish Cup ties, late drama in Premier League matches, and no shortage of goals here at London Stadium.
There's been no goals in the second half because you jinxed it.
No, I did the opposite of jinxed it. I said there would be no goals, which then should have created the goals. See, double reverse psychology, Andy. As attacking down the right-hand side, Saka tries to get a cross in, and he does well to win a corner. Another of these dastardly Arsenal corner kicks for West Ham to try and deal with. Yeah, if I had said there's definitely going to be loads of goals, that would have jinxed it. Me saying you're not having this, are you? No. 68 minutes on the clock at London Stadium.
Arsenal know how to take the sting out of games. You see how slow Saka comes across and takes the corner. He takes an age.
Every trick in the book. But here comes the corner kick delivery. Frantic action and movement in the middle. Played in swinger. Fabianski came to punch. He didn't cleanly connect with it. He ended up down on his knees, but fortunately for him, one of his teammates was able to shuffle it away. Back out towards Saka on the right-hand side. Short pass to Odegaard. Into the feet of Zinchenko now, who's inside the penalty area. Back to the edge. Saka. Back to Odegaard, who'd gone on the overlap. Good work by Alvarez to track that progress of the Norwegian, and the Mexican comes away with possession. He's done well since coming on at half-time, Edson Alvarez. Lopetegui had to do something after shifting 5 goals in the first half. He took off Somerville and he's put on Alvarez that anchor roll in the midfield, and he's been able to steady things just a little bit, but more groans here as West Ham cheaply give up possession inside their opponent's half, and Arsenal get it back once again.
I'd love to see the pass map throughout the games that Odegaard and Saka play together. They link so well. It's almost telepathic, They know where each other is. They know where the teammates are. The rotations are there. If Saka steps inside, then Odegaard comes to the outside. Sometimes they get really, really close to the touchline and work little combinations. They've got them little darting runs, little 1-2s in and around the box. They're brilliant. Really, two top players that I love watching play football.
West Ham United 2, Arsenal 5, 20 minutes of normal time to play on 5 Live. Arsenal, who started today 8 points behind the leaders Liverpool, who play tomorrow. Arsenal have had a tricky spell, but all isn't lost. I looked back in the figures last night. 6 times in Premier League history has Here comes Declan Rice prowling into the penalty area, couldn't get a shot away in the end. We'll go back to that in just a moment. Zinchenko has it on the edge of the box, gives it short to Trossard, back to Zinchenko, back to Declan Rice. This is the game management that Andy referred to earlier, when Arsenal is so good at seeing out a game by taking the sting out of it. And Soler does well to win back possession here for West Ham. But I look back, so 32 years of the Premier League, 6 times the title has been won by a team that was 8 points or more behind the leaders after 12 games. So the position that Arsenal have been in now, 6 times a team has come back from where they are now to win the Premier League title.
I don't think Arsenal are out of it if they continue to play the way they are. You just get the sense that they've got all the players back now and they're playing some brilliant football, you know, and if they can go on a really good run, because let's not forget that Liverpool haven't had a sticky spell yet. You know, they've, you know, other than the defeat to Forest, it's been pretty plain sailing for Liverpool. But at some point this season, they will have that sticky patch, and that's when Arsenal need to be, you know, relentless, and they need to be on it, and they need to make sure that they keep grinding out them wins, you know, win after win, and really rack up them points.
Lovely play between Jorginho and Odegaard there, and it's released Timber down the right-hand side, and his cross splashes in front of Havertz, who, any touch at all, it would have been a 6th goal of the day for Arsenal, but he didn't get a touch, and it went through to Fabianski. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5 it remained. The other key thing, of course, is keeping your big players fit, and Rice, Odegaard and Saka, they've missed a combined 9 Premier League games between them this season. You compare it to all of last season, when those 3 players were only missing for 5 games between them. You know, the first choice Arsenal team can pretty much beat anyone, but can they keep that first choice team on the pitch?
Yeah, well listen, that's the key to it, and I know people say, oh well, everybody has to put up with injuries, and I know Man City are going through that spell as well, and you do have to be able to deal with them, but you know, if you take Saka and Odegaard out of this team, and Declan Rice, you mentioned him, he's massively important. I've been really impressed over the last few weeks with Timber. It's really good. He had a serious injury, and it's really good to see him back playing so well. He looks a really accomplished footballer.
Yeah, very aggressive, very energetic is Julian Timber. As West Ham come on the attack here, Alvarez over to Sofal, into Danny Ings, no one marking him, took a touchdown to the penalty area, and by the time he'd controlled the ball, the cover had arrived, and Kiwior was there. Now West Ham are demanding a corner kick here. The on-field referee's call is goal kick, and this is one of those ones that VAR can't intervene with, so even if he's wrong here, Anthony Taylor, it won't be changed. Danny Ings thought he was getting a corner.
Yeah, but they're the ones that are really frustrating for a player. Like the referee is 10 feet away from it. You can clearly see the ball change direction after Danny Ings plays it off the defender, you know, and they're the ones that, as a player, when you're on the pitch and you get them ones that the referee should spot, that really frustrate you.
Okay, another double change coming on for Arsenal here. Mikel Arteta feeling that this game is more under control now than some of the harem-scarum moments of the first half. So he's going to take off Martin Odegaard, and he's going to take off Bukayo Saka. So the 2 star men are taken off. Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling come on instead.
It's just a sign of how important these players are to this Arsenal team. You know, there's 17-18 minutes left in the game plus injury time. You know, they will see it out. I would imagine you're bringing on quality players, not the same type of quality, but you're bringing on quality players. I think it's a really good move. It's a smart move.
West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. Raheem Sterling, who got a hat-trick against West Ham back in his Manchester City days. Gabriel Jesus, another former City player, he has scored 4 Premier League goals at this stadium, the London Stadium, in the past. So they get a run here in what's been a really strange game. At times, Arsenal have been brilliant today. They had a bad spell where they conceded 2 goals in the space of 3 minutes, but apart from that, they've been really good today. Gabriel Jesus gives it to Raheem Sterling, the 2 substitutes combining. Sterling, who started wide on the right where Saka was playing. Number 30 on his back, rolls it back to Timber. Timber gives it to Sterling once again with the black boots. Now flicks it on to Gabriel Jesus with the orange boots. He tried to cut it back. He was sure Sterling was going to make a run inside him, but he played it into that space. Sterling didn't make the run, and now West Ham can counter-attack. Lucas Paqueta pushes it in front of Jared Bowen. Knows that Bowen is faster than he'll get there ahead of Kiwior. Then the Polish international is strong in the collision, but too strong and too forceful. He's committed the foul. Free kick to West Ham. It's just outside the side of the penalty area. It's not a shooting position. It's near the corner flag, but an attacking set piece for West Ham. who are running out of time here. 15 minutes to go, they're 3 goals behind.
Yeah, they need something quickly. There's a bit of short pulling there, and Bowen's tried to check back, and I do think a short was being pulled, so I think the referee has made the right decision there. You know, it is getting to that kind of desperation stage for West Ham now. If they want to make any serious challenge to this scoreline, it's got to happen soon.
West Ham 2, Arsenal 5 live at BBC Sounds. Arsenal looking for their 3rd win in a row this week. It is 2 months since Mikel Arteta last had 3 wins in a row. 5-2 they lead. Free kick is going to be taken from the right-hand side. West Ham have pushed everyone forward to take it. Arsenal have pulled everyone back to defend. Here it comes, right-footed from Soler. Jump by Paqueta. Stooping header from, was it Souček? But he couldn't get it down on target. And it was up high into the arms of David Raya, and now Arsenal trying to spring a counter-attack. They know that West Ham had committed bodies forward there. Gabriel Jesus then holds it up on the halfway line. That's the game management. Those are the dark arts. Arsenal not risking a counter-attack for no reason. They'd rather hold on to possession as West Ham prepared to make another double change.
Yeah, it was a dangerous enough situation there for West Ham. The ball was played towards the back post, and Arsenal were struggling to get any kind of good contact on it to clear it. And I just think with Souček at the back post, there wasn't enough pace on the ball for him to kind of generate any power in the header, and he ended up just kind of looping up over in the end.
So the 2 West Ham changes are to replace midfielders. Guido Rodriguez comes on for Lucas Paqueta, and Andy Irvine, who's yet to start a game for West Ham, comes on for his 5th substitute in the Premier League this season. The Scottish international will come on in place of Soler.
I was really impressed with him when he came on in the Newcastle game. I thought he came on and got on the ball and linked the play really well, looked really composed. I think he's got a decent enough physical presence about him as well.
There's only been 1 shot on target in this second half after the 7 goals in the first period. Bound to happen. This is 5 Live, the final Premier League game of November. 4 matches tomorrow. You can listen on 5 Live to Manchester United against Everton at 1:30. Liverpool against Manchester City is at 4 p.m. You can listen to 2 other games across Sports Extra on the BBC Sport website. Tonight on 5 Live we've got boxing commentary with former flyweight world champion Sonny Edwards against Olympic gold medalist Galalia Five from Birmingham. And tomorrow night we've got NFL with commentary of the Philadelphia Eagles at Baltimore Ravens. That's on Sports Extra tomorrow night. Well, this has been a game that is going to live long in the memory. We'll be talking about this one for some time. 5-2 at half-time. Jean-Claire Todibo and his West Ham teammates here hoping that they can spark interest in the closing stages to West Ham could just narrow the gap a little bit. Guido Rodriguez involved for the first time. Chips it over to Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's now scored in each of his last appearances. His first 2 goals for West Ham. Oh, he's done well to go around Raheem Sterling, who gave up there. And then Wan-Bissaka tried to shoot in low. Came back off his shin. Guido Rodriguez follows up. Danny Ings. But again, the sting taken out of it. And David Raya makes the save. Raheem Sterling just stopped there.
Yeah, that was really, really poor defending. Listen, I understand that he's an attacking player, but you know, you need to make a better effort than that. But Wan-Bissaka done well. It was quite positive, and then you know it's like a pinball machine in there, wasn't it? For about 10 seconds, there was shots and.
Oh, mistake by Raya, almost intercepted by Alvarez, but he stretched the Mexican, he got his foot to it and he couldn't get it under his control, and Arsenal relieved because Raya would have been out of position had that happened. Here is Sterling down the other end of the field, where he likes to be, rolls it into the feet of Trossard, wanted to release Kai Havertz first time, can't pick him out. Declan Rice will control. Midway through West Ham territory, plays a little 1-2 with Gabriel Jesus. This is all happening 10 yards outside the penalty area that Arsenal attack. Arsenal 5-2 up here away from home and heading back to second place in the Premier League as things stand. City and Liverpool can't both win tomorrow. They face each other at Anfield. We go back to Wembley, the women's international friendly between England and the USA at Rob Schofield.
Full-time, Connor, 0-0 between these 2 international heavyweights. Emma Hayes, Olympic champions, probably edging it on points ahead in every metric but goals. Awarded a second-half penalty for an Alex Greenwood handball that was rightly overturned by VAR. And after the 4-3 defeat to Germany here, this feels like a bit of a base to build on for Sarina Wiegman, who did experiment as promised. Didn't quite live up to the hype that sold 83,000 tickets, but England will now finish the year in Sheffield against Euro 2025 host Switzerland on Tuesday. England 0, USA 0.
Thanks very much, Rob. Still West Ham 2, Arsenal 5 here. 10 minutes of normal time to play. Fabianski gathers the ball high above his head inside the penalty area. We haven't been keeping you up to date with the Dortmund-Bayern Munich game in Germany, but it's worth mentioning because Dortmund have taken the lead in that game late on, and the goal is scored by Jamie Gittens, the young English player, has scored in that big Bundesliga match. Dortmund leading Harry Kane's Bayern Munich by a 0-0. Jamie Gittens, the Englishman, scoring for Dortmund there. Here, West Ham have possession. And it's Max Kilman at the back.
Dortmund have done well with some English players over the last few years, haven't they? They've
Bellingham,
really
Sancho.
they've given them a real platform to go and perform.
Absolutely. Gittens, the latest taxi off the rank there. This is Irvine for West Ham. Stadium beginning to empty now with the realisation of West Ham fans that they're not going to get the dramatic comeback from this situation. 5-2 down. So Falcons over the halfway line on the right-hand side. West Ham have played really well against Newcastle on Monday. This will take some of the wind from their sails. Ings in the penalty area battles against Saliba. Saliba ushers him back outside the box, but it's been given away from an Arsenal point of view because Bowen trying to backheel, which has just given possession to Gabriel Jesus, and Arsenal should be able to clear it away now. Anyway, will do, out into the crowd. And a throw in to West Ham.
I know obviously the scoreline 5-2 and West Ham won't be happy with it. But I'm just thinking back to that moment when the fourth goal went in and it was 4-0 and this place kind of, emptied out really quickly and there was a lot of booing and, moans and groans and, and understandably so. The fact that West Ham have kind of maybe got themselves kind of back in it, they've got themselves a couple of goals, maybe a couple of positives to take from it. I think what I'm probably trying to say is it could have been worse at that point,
Yeah, they've shown some backbone. They didn't just roll over and have their tummies tickled, West Ham, which maybe some recent generations of this team might have done. But that said, there's been the feeling in the second half that Arsenal have known the job is done at scoring 5 times and they haven't been as held to sculpture to get more. Wan-Bissaka has cut through Kai Havertz there, no free kick. Anthony Taylor was close to it and he's satisfied it's a fair challenge. Havertz gets back up to his feet. Contact sport and all that. Havertz just for a moment felt his legs had been chopped out from underneath him there, but it was obviously a clean tackle from Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, I think it was a really good tackle. I think we have to we have to be careful that the tackling doesn't just kind of die out of the game. That's not. It is a contact sport. We love to see the competitiveness of it. Yeah, fair has to be fair, of course. You get that. But I thought that was a perfectly timed tackle. I didn't think he endangered the opponent, and he won the ball cleanly.
Yeah, he won the ball cleanly was the key thing. I think the reason it stood out is because he comes sliding in the back of Havertz and usually tackles from behind. Any margin of error there, he could have been in big trouble, Kai Havertz, if he Wan-Bissaka, if he had mistimed that. But as Andy Reid illustrates, it was a very, very good executed tackle, and probably what West Ham are going to need to see more of in their games coming up. West Ham will travel to Leicester on Tuesday. Presumably Ruud van Nistelrooy will be in the dugout for that one after Leicester lost 4-1 at Brentford today. Van Nistelrooy was watching in the stand. After that, Julien Lopetegui goes back to his old team Wolves. Now West Ham go to Molineux, and the next home game here will be the visit of Bournemouth to London Stadium. For Arsenal, they've got Manchester United, the Emirates on Wednesday, and then it's Fulham away next weekend, followed by Monaco at home in the Champions League. Another change for Mikel Arteta is taking off Leandro Trossard. Seems a very, very, very long time ago now, but Trossard scored the first goal of this game. That was back in the black and white days, Andy. That seems so long ago.
Really good goal as well. It was brilliantly worked. Great combination play. Wanyeri
has come on in place of Trossard for the closing minutes here. 5 and a bit minutes of normal time to go. London Stadium, 5 Live and BBC Sounds of the Premier League. And Arsenal heading for second in the table, and West Ham heading back to the drawing board, having felt that they had turned a corner on Monday. But it's never easy, is it, against a team like Arsenal? And the way Arsenal played at times in the first half, I don't think any team could have contained them. Here they come again. Declan Rice, he's made up 40, now 50 yards from well inside his own half to the edge of the opposition penalty area, and Sterling shoots into the side netting. Never really wrapped his foot around it, Raheem Sterling, and it remains 5-2 to Arsenal.
That's Declan Rice at his best there, you know, when he's receiving in between the lines and he's driving forward. He's a really powerful mover with the football, and he uses it really well. You know, he's travelled probably 40-50 yards there and sets up Raheem Sterling in a 1v1 situation where he's really dangerous.
Bukayo Saka and Kai Havertz, who've been Arsenal's joint leading Premier League goal scorers this season. Today is the first time that either of them have scored away from the Emirates in the Premier League. Raheem Sterling, who had that chance, yet to score a Premier League goal for his new team. He's won Arsenal goals so far. Came in the League Cup. This is Thomas Souček, who was one of West Ham's scorers on Monday. And it's going to come back. There was a foul on Sofal before the pass was played to Souček. Referee just allowed play to continue for a moment to see if there would be advantage for West Ham. There wasn't, so he's brought it back. Anthony Taylor for the West Ham free kick. West Ham have it with Bowen on the right wing, trying to get into a position to cross, pulls back to the edge of the area to Irvine. Then there's a 1-2 played, trying to resuscitate something here. West Ham, Alvarez on the edge of the D, tried to bend down almost to his knees to control his chest, and he wasn't able to do so, and the loose ball is spilled away, and Arsenal will counter-attack, and this is Kai Havertz, and he's got two teammates inside him, and he tries to give it to Wanyeri, and out comes Fabianski to make the save.
Yeah, between Kilman and Fabianski there, they've got the job done. They've done really well. It was lovely from Wanyeri there. He slipped Havertz in. It's really good to see Mikel Arteta give this lad some game time, and for me, I think he's a really, really top talent. I've seen him play some underage football, and you know, to see him getting an opportunity now at the level that he is, the Champions League and the Premier League, I think it shows how highly Arsenal rate him. I think he's got a really, really big future.
Here they come with a charge again. Gabriel Jesus started this near the centre circle, gets to the edge of the West Ham penalty area, turns around and looks for support. Wanyeri was arriving, fouling Gabriel Jesus. Free kick to Arsenal within shooting range. We're into the final 3 minutes of normal time now. Incredible match really. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5. Worth giving you a reminder of the passage of play. Gabriel scored a header from a corner to set Arsenal going. Trossard got the second goal. Odegaard scored a penalty. Havertz made it 4-0. This was all still in the first half. Then 2 quick-fire goals from West Ham to make things very interesting. Wan-Bissaka and a brilliant free kick from Emerson. But then before the first half ended, another goal, and Bukayo Saka scored a penalty to make it the 5-2.
I'm glad you've written all that down, because
I've very much run out of space here. I hope there aren't too many more goals, because we won't be able to fit them in. Raheem Sterling's going to take this one. He's the only Arsenal player standing over it. It's not a million miles away from the sort of distance where Emerson scored the free kick in the first half.
It's almost identical position to where it was, maybe a foot or two to the right.
This is Andy Reid's area of expertise. The free kick at the edge of the penalty area. Where would you go, Andy? Top left, top right? What would you be thinking?
Yeah, I'll be looking at top right.
Top right,
top
which
right,
is
keeper's left.
Inside the wall is.
Yeah.
You've got to round the wall into that top corner.
Especially for a right footer, you've got a nice little angle to bend it around the wall there. You can even, you don't need to go as high.
The 3 layers of wall here. There's the draft excluder, there is the West Ham wall, and then Arsenal have built their own wall in front of that. So there's a lot of bodies obscuring the view of Fabianski here. Raheem Sterling, who'll have practiced these in training, puts it wide. He got it around the wall, he got the height right, but it was wide of the post.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad effort. He just didn't get quite enough whip on it. But I think it's the right idea, and I think, you know, kind of mentioned, it didn't need to go too high. I think if that's on target, it causes the keeper a real problem. I don't know if he was going to get there.
6:06 coming up. Aaron Paul joining Chris Sutton to take your calls very shortly here on 5 Live. Match of the day tonight, 10:25 on BBC One. West Ham, who have lost more Premier League games, conceded more Premier League goals against Arsenal than any other opponent, and it's been another noteworthy scoreline here today. 6-0 the last time they met here. 5-2 doesn't sound quite as bad, but it's still not a good day for Julian Lopetegui. There's Julian Timber here, rolls it back to Saliba, but it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow at Anfield, Andy. But this performance this week that Arsenal have had, they are back in the title race, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think there's a couple of things. They're starting to pick up the results now, but for me, I think there's more about how they're going about it. They're playing some brilliant stuff. They're scoring goals at will. They look really, really secure. I know they've conceded 2 tonight. One of them was from a set piece, was from a free kick. They've got 2 of the
Good
best
work from Sterling on the far side. He's given it into the penalty area to Gabriel Jesus. One defender to beat, and Kilman holds him up. And Arsenal denied what would have been their 6th goal.
Yeah, Kilman done well there. He just got a little touch that took it away from Gabriel Jesus.
And by the way, you can watch the Copa Libertadores final on the BBC Sport website and Red Button late tonight. From 11:45 p.m. it's a final being held in Argentina featuring 2 Brazilian clubs, Atlético Mineiro against Botafogo. You can watch that on the BBC Sport website. And the Red Button as West Ham tried to get a goal back down the other end. Into the penalty area they went, and off balance, Danny Ings just wasn't able to get it in. He beat Raya, but it skidded past the post and wide.
Oh, he's just dragged it too far. He's done really, really well. We spoke about when he came on about his anticipation, and I think that's what he does really well. He anticipates. He knows where a goal might be. He knows where a mistake might be, and he latched onto that. It was slack defending, and he latched onto it, went around the keeper, and he's just pulled it a little bit too far past the far post. He should have scored.
Yeah, it was a real rarity there. A hesitation by William Saliba, who was always rock solid, but Saliba didn't get a touch, and Ings sent it across the face of goal. Kivior was sliding back, and I don't know if you noticed his manoeuvre, Andy. It was very good. Kivior sliding in, and he's got a choice to make here. Does he try and get a touch to put it away for goal, but knows he could put it into his own net, or does he trust that it's not heading into the corner? And he had his angles right. He pulled his leg up over it, and it went and it skidded just wide.
Yeah, if he had have made any contact on that, he would have put it into his own net.
So that was the right choice there. West Ham 2, Arsenal 5, the closing stages of this Premier League game. This is about to be a 7th Premier League win for Mikel Arteta as a coach against West Ham. He's only had more Premier League wins against Wolves. So in the main, he has very much enjoyed his time as a manager against West Ham. But for Julian Lopetegui, it's going to be another disappointing day against Arsenal. He's had a few of those in the past. His Wolves team lost 5-0 at the Emirates a year and a half ago.
He's still just searching for that consistency. I think we've seen some shoots of good work that is going on there, but probably not enough of it. We've seen a couple of get a few games where they've conceded kind of 4 goals, 5 goals. So they need to try and get that bit of consistency. They need to try and look secure as they possibly can, but also then still have an attacking threat, and I think they've struggled to get the balance at the moment.
Ranieri has done well here. He's played it over the halfway line to Gabriel Jesus. Now on to Raheem Sterling, to the edge of the penalty area. Sterling held up by West Ham defenders, looking for support. He's done well to pick a pass to Gabriel Jesus. Byline, left-hand side, trying to cut it into an angle, and he does shoot, but it hits the side netting, and it's a goal kick. We're into the 5 minutes, by the way, being added on for stoppages. There was a yellow card shown there. I presume it was a tug of an opponent off the ball, but Gabriel Jesus' shot in the end hit the side netting.
Yeah, but it was a lovely bit of skill to manoeuvre a half a yard to get a shot off. I love them ones where the forwards, they're just half a yard, the keeper can't really set himself to go and save it. The defender really struggles to move his feet to try and block it. It's just a shift and hit, and it's all in one movement. They've done it brilliantly well, just maybe lacking that bit of that accuracy for the finish.
Late delay here. One of the West Ham defenders is going to need some treatment, and on our screens in front of us they're showing replays, quick fire of all the goals that came. 7 of them in the first half, 2 of them from the penalty spot. Odegaard and Saka sending them to either sides of Lucas Fabianski, the oldest player to play in the Premier League this season. He was close to saving both of them, but he couldn't keep them out. I think Bukayo Saka, they're showing him on the television close-ups here. I presume he's been given the Player of the Match award.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. He's a threat every time he gets in the ball. He can come short and get the ball to feet and go 1v1. He can combine, 1-2s. He can make overlapping runs, underlapping runs. He's brilliant in 1v1 situations. But also what he's got is a lovely come short to then spin in behind as well. And what that does is it keeps the defender guessing. they never quite know what he's going to do, and you can never really get too tight to him. I have to say he's one of my favourite players to watch at the moment. You know, every time he steps onto a football pitch, he makes things happen, and you know, as a neutral, that's what you want. You want them players to get you to the edge of your seat, and he most certainly does that.
There is the final whistle. It comes to an end. As we said it was, there's going to be no goals in the second half, and there wasn't. It finishes 5-2. What a first half, though. One that will live long, long, long in the memory. 6:06 coming up very soon with Aaron Paul and Chris Sutton, and so much to discuss after Arsenal really got into their groove, scoring 5 times in the first half. Gabriel, Trossard, Odegaard, Havertz and Saka. It was a day that West Ham just found their opponents too hot to handle. Julian Lopetegui's team are going to have to go away and pick themselves up and dust themselves down. But after a run of 4 Premier League games without a win, Arsenal have steadied the ship. Back-to-back Premier League victories, an impressive Champions League win in midweek too. It reconfirms their pursuit of a leading role in the title race. Arsenal will go into that Manchester United game in midweek now in very good spirits indeed. What are your final thoughts on this match, Andy Reid?
West Ham still have plenty of work to do. I think that's pretty obvious. I think that period from goal number 1 to goal number 4 for Arsenal was really, really high level. Some of the football was brilliant. So, you know, that was what took the game away from them, and it was brilliant to watch in that period of time. Really, really good game for the neutral. Plenty of goals, lots of excitement, lots of talking points. Really, really enjoyed it.
Arsenal win another London derby. This is their 8th of the calendar year. They've only dropped points in one of them. It finishes West Ham 2, Arsenal 5 here, 6:06 to come. But first, on 5 Live, it's news time with Dan Maudsley.
The voice of the UK.